Itsuki Shinomiya spent every day buried in office work. Endless shifts drained his strength, while constant pressure worsened his condition. During a brief meal break, Itsuki ate noodles alone. He saved little money, lacked goals, and struggled to understand his purpose. Watching the final train approach, Itsuki reflected on death, believing continued effort brought nothing except pain and growing despair. A poster about parallel worlds caught his attention. Remembering fantasy stories, Itsuki wondered whether another universe might offer meaning or a chance to start over completely. Imagining adventures and heroic battles, Itsuki questioned that path. He wanted enjoyment, fortune, and freedom instead. Rejecting relentless expectations and exhausting responsibilities altogether forever. Itsuki suddenly opened his eyes at the station. Strange mist surrounded the seats, while a mysterious message appeared, leaving him startled. Believing he nearly missed the final train, Itsuki rushed forward with his luggage. Relief crossed his face before noticing something unusual nearby. A beautiful woman dressed like a goddess greeted Itsuki by name inside the carriage. Her appearance seemed impossible, causing immediate suspicion and confusion within his mind. From the goddess came a shocking announcement. She declared that Itsuki would soon travel to a parallel universe. He assumed the encounter was some elaborate prank and tried to leave without listening further. The goddess stopped him with a snap, demanding his attention immediately. The goddess revealed the truth without hesitation. Itsuki had already died and would be transferred elsewhere. Shocked by the announcement, Itsuki questioned reality. The goddess presented several skill cards, explaining that one special ability would support his survival there. As the floating cards surrounded him, Itsuki slowly accepted the situation. The goddess encouraged him, stating the choice belonged entirely. Rather than rushing, Itsuki considered practical options carefully. He imagined dangerous creatures and battles, believing combat abilities might become necessary in another world. His mood suddenly changed, deciding his next life should be enjoyable. Itsuki confidently selected a card, hoping it would bring comfort, freedom, and luck. Itsuki proudly confirmed his choice despite the goddess suggesting better options. Seeing his determination, she reluctantly accepted and prepared to send him away. The goddess placed a hand on his head and activated the transfer. Before disappearing, Itsuki received a warning to remain careful. Opening his eyes beneath a bright sky, Itsuki expected civilization nearby. Instead, a giant insect-like monster stood directly behind him. Panic replaced excitement instantly. The creature chased him relentlessly, making him realize the goddess had not sent him safely. Breathing heavily, Itsuki questioned everything. His dream of a peaceful second life collapsed immediately, replaced by terror, confusion, and a desperate struggle for survival. Just as the monster prepared another attack, a swordsman appeared suddenly. With a swift strike, he defeated the creature and protected Itsuki immediately. The young warrior checked on Itsuki's condition and confirmed his safety. Grateful for the rescue, Itsuki stared at the stranger with admiration. Introducing himself as Hayato Hayakawa, the swordsman explained that he was also a drifter. His words immediately caught Itsuki's full attention. Hayato revealed he had been reincarnated into this world as well. Realizing they shared similar origins, Itsuki quickly felt a connection. Several women approached Hayato's group while listening quietly. Watching the handsome adventurer surrounded by companions, Itsuki became amazed by the unexpected situation. Itsuki noticed Hayato surrounded by several women. Their closeness caught his attention, making the group appear unusually friendly and comfortable. As the wagon approached a city, conversation shifted toward Japan. Hayato mentioned feeling nostalgic, prompting Itsuki to listen with growing curiosity. Hayato suddenly asked whether Itsuki had received a unique skill from the goddess. The question intrigued everyone, causing the group to await his answer. Proudly raising his hand, Itsuki activated his ability. He confidently announced its name, believing he had chosen an excellent skill for himself. A coin appeared instantly within his palm, explaining that money arrived daily without labor. Itsuki celebrated proudly, while the others reacted with surprise. Thinking about his future, Itsuki reviewed his granted abilities. Confident in pocket money, he believed earning wealth would make life considerably easier. Hayato suggested joining a guild and developing useful skills. Since combat seemed troublesome, Itsuki became interested in improving his alchemy abilities instead. The wagon finally reached a large city. Gazing at the towering walls and countless buildings, Itsuki felt excitement rising, stepping into the parallel world city. Itsuki admired the lively streets and attractive adventurers. Determined to settle in, he planned visiting a guild. Holding a coin proudly, Itsuki imagined a comfortable future. He intended to use his abilities wisely while enjoying life surrounded by beautiful women. Entering his new life with confidence, Itsuki decided not to rush anything. With steady income guaranteed, he planned to enjoy each opportunity. Standing beneath the open sky, Itsuki embraced his fresh beginning. His dreams finally seemed possible, and his journey in the parallel world truly started. Itsuki walked through town while eating grilled beef. Following Hayato's map, he searched for the Alchemy Guild. The delicious snack kept him relaxed. A small hand suddenly grabbed Itsuki's clothes. Surprised, he turned around and found someone behind him. Curious, he paused his journey and watched. Itsuki discovered a young cat girl standing alone. Seeing her hungry expression, he offered the remaining beef. While examining her, he noticed a collar. The collar troubled Itsuki. He wondered why someone so young wore one. Nearby, a man hurried over and warned him about feeding slaves. Itsuki quickly denied any strange intentions. The approaching man introduced himself as Yasus, a slave trader, then suggested purchasing the lonely cat girl instead. Itsuki learned the cat girl was a slave. He offered the grilled beef, then she accepted immediately. Itsuki pretending they're a big caterpillar, to distract Yasus. The cat girl happily ate the food. Itsuki waved goodbye and continued walking. Yasus remained beside her. Following the map once more, Itsuki finally reached a large building. He stopped before the entrance and confirmed it was the Alchemy Guild. Remembering Hayato's instructions, Itsuki checked the introduction letter. The message advised creating a guild card first and meeting the guild master with preparations finished. Itsuki approached the entrance confidently. He called out toward the quiet building, waiting for someone inside to answer him. Itsuki entered the guild and called for assistance. A voice immediately responded from inside, warning him not to speak loudly within the building. Looking around, Itsuki found an elderly woman sitting behind a counter. Her sharp gaze and unusual pipe surprised him upon meeting her. The woman studied him carefully before asking his purpose. Her intimidating expression made Itsuki nervous. Yet he remained polite. Itsuki introduced himself and explained Hayato had recommended the guild. After reading the letter, the woman understood why he had arrived. The guild master mentioned hearing rumors about Itsuki. She knew the young drifter had become a noble, making him unusually famous. The guild master suddenly pressed a document against Itsuki's face. Startled by her speed, he froze briefly while trying to understand her actions. She handed over his guild card and explained Hayato's recommendation removed any examination requirements. Relieved, Itsuki accepted the card and thanked her. Itsuki immediately requested alchemy lessons. The guild master introduced herself as Rienric. Her intense stare unsettled him, making the conversation unexpectedly tense. Realizing his mistake, Itsuki respectfully addressed her as beautiful Rienric and apologized. Satisfied by his quick correction, Rienric agreed to continue. Rienric considered his request carefully and sensed potential talent. Interested in his abilities, she invited Itsuki to follow and observe her work. Rienric began Itsuki's lesson with medicine mixing. She prepared simple ingredients and instructed him to follow each step exactly as demonstrated. While working, Itsuki suggested using skills instead of manual effort. Rienric rejected the idea, explaining repetition improved technique, knowledge, and overall quality. Itsuki continued mixing ingredients while listening carefully. Rienric explained that understanding alone was insufficient. True alchemy required practice until the body remembered. After finishing, Itsuki presented the mixture for inspection. Rienric tasted it, rejected the result immediately, then ordered him to try again. Itsuki spent hours studying books and repeating exercises. Gradually, he sensed progress. Despite exhaustion, he remained determined to master alchemy properly. Hours of practice exhausted Itsuki completely. Surrounded by books and materials, he admitted defeat for the moment, lacking strength to continue working. Rienric inspected the completed potions carefully. Despite his exhaustion, she praised the results, noting his first attempts were surprisingly well made. Seeing Itsuki collapse from fatigue, Rienric called for assistance. A woman named Riet returned home. and the guildmaster greeted her. Reet prepared tea and food for the tired student. Hungry from training, Itsuki quickly ate everything, drawing a mild complaint. While sharing tea, Rienric evaluated Itsuki's progress. Recognizing genuine talent in him, she decided he should continue working at the guild. Itsuki reacted awkwardly to Rienric's praise. Amused by his expression, she discussed practical matters and considered arrangements for his immediate future. Rienric suggested selling the potions he created. She guaranteed their quality and allowed him to stay temporarily while earning money independently. Itsuki eagerly admitted needing funds. Looking across the city, he listened as Rienric explained his beginner potions still possessed market value. The following day, a commotion erupted nearby. Townspeople shouted for help as a fleeing thief escaped through the streets carrying stolen luggage. Itsuki moved to intercept the criminal's path. Cornered and desperate, the thief brandished a knife, threatening anyone who dared block him. As the armed thief charged forward, two adventurers appeared nearby. Sort reacted immediately, while Aina stepped forward to intercept the dangerous criminal. The thief angrily swung his knife toward Aina. Unfazed by the threat, she closed the distance quickly and prepared a counterattack. Aina struck with overwhelming force. The powerful blow landed cleanly, stopping the thief's assault and sending him crashing backward in pain. Sorte praised Aina's performance while the defeated criminal collapsed. The battle ended almost instantly, leaving nearby witnesses surprised by the result. Aina checked the fallen thief carefully. Worried she had used excessive force, she asked for confirmation, but Sort assured her he remained alive. Aina and Sort received thanks from relieved townspeople. Nearby witnesses recognized the adventuring pair, while the defeated criminal remained unconscious. Rienric and Itsuki noticed a gathering crowd in the distance. She sent him toward the Adventurer Guild alone while handling other matters that required her attention there. Itsuki arrived before a new building and prepared to sell his potions. Despite confidence in his work, he felt slightly nervous about conducting business by himself. Under the same moon with Hayato, Itsuki relaxed peacefully, unaware tomorrow would shift everything again. Hayato approached Rienric in secret, requesting she deliver a gift to Itsuki out of gratitude. Itsuki entered a shady inn, greeted by cold stares and dangerous men who eyed him suspiciously. Uncomfortable with the crowd's attitude, Itsuki moved cautiously, realizing the place wasn't suited for peaceful business. Spotted by a cheerful girl behind the counter, Itsuki sensed she might be someone worth trusting. Itsuki requested to sell potions and buy ore. Surprised, the girl accepted without hesitation or question. Tension rose as others noticed him, accusing him of price gouging and questioning his potion's value again. Ferris calmly clarified that the potions were low grade, but attention still focused sharply on Itsuki's presence. A man interrupted, speaking casually, but his movement startled Itsuki, causing all the potion bottles to spill. Horrified, Itsuki watched helplessly as the dropped bottles shattered, releasing a chaotic swarm of summoned insect-like creatures. Laughed at by adventurers, Itsuki was accused of belonging to the pharmaceutical guild and selling forbidden potions. Recalled when Rienric acknowledged the quality of Itsuki's potions, but the bald man mocked him and grabbed his hair. Cornered and furious, Itsuki clenched his fist, ready to fight for his pride despite the odds. Enraged by the destroyed potions, Itsuki lashed out, but a sharp voice halted his reckless punch midair. Aina, the armored knight, blocked Itsuki's strike with ease, standing between him and certain disaster. Aina silenced everyone with a sharp tone, causing both Itsuki and the thugs to freeze immediately. Before Itsuki could respond, a sharp-eared warrior girl, Sorte, scolded him, warning him to calm down. The armored girls introduced themselves as Aina and Sorte, renowned members of the feared Red Front Guild. Everyone grew tense. Aina confirmed her presence yesterday, and Itsuki began second-guessing their accusations. Itsuki clarified proudly from the lesser-known Alchemy Guild. He admired Aina's beauty and armor. Itsuki presented his guild card. The crowd grew silent, while Aina and Sorte stepped forward protectively. Aina declared the issue a misunderstanding. The bald man panicked and reluctantly apologized to avoid more trouble. Sorte scolded Itsuki harshly, but he snapped back, blaming poor communication and damage to his potions. Aina calmed the argument, offering compensation and asking gently for forgiveness on behalf of her team. Rienric, leader of Purgil, arrived furiously, accusing them of destroying her product and refusing to accept an apology. Rienric shouted to summon the guildmaster, declaring she'd only talk after official authority was present. Despite guilt, Itsuki was comforted. Reinrich reminded him the blame belonged elsewhere, not with someone who tried. With firm words, Reinrich severed ties between the Alchemy Guild and the offenders, shocking the crowd instantly. Panic spread. The bald man begged forgiveness, realizing they'd have to buy overpriced potions from now on. Reinrich scolded Aina directly, demanding justice for his students' destroyed work, furious that passion was met with carelessness. Reinrich revealed a letter from Hayato, leaving the entire guild shocked by the hero's endorsement. Hayato, the legendary dragon slayer, was confirmed as Itsuki's supporter, leaving onlookers stunned by the connection. Fearing backlash, the guild agreed to pay 1 million nar and exile the responsible adventurers. Reinrich questioned the sincerity of the payment, suspecting deception while others stood baffled by her demand. Sorte burst out about the huge nominal. Reinrich defended Itsuki fiercely, invoking Hayato's name as final authority. Faced with the staggering price, Aina stepped forward solemnly, offering to take full responsibility herself. With tears forming, Aina declared she'd become a slave to repay the cost, shocking everyone into silence. Aina offered herself as a slave, determined to repay a debt that burdened her honor and pride. Shock rippled through the guild Itsuki, and the bald man stood frozen as silence replaced all questioning thoughts. Reinrich confronted her, confused and distressed, questioning her sacrifice while demanding an explanation for everything. The thug pleaded for alternatives, but her resolve unsettled the guild, risking their fragile reputation and standing. Despite protests from Ferris, she stayed firm. Protecting the guild's future meant surrendering her own freedom. Aina comforted Ferris gently, even as doubts grew around her. Itsuki confronted Reinrich for allowing this. Sorte exploded with rage, rejecting the idea that broken potions justified Aina's choice of slavery. Aina remained firm, reminding Sorte that she'd promised to take responsibility, even at the cost of everything. She declared herself a knight, willing to protect others, even if adventurers were gone tomorrow. Standing before the alchemist, Aina pleaded for forgiveness. Reinrich, frustrated, refused to support her plan. Itsuki panicked, recalling his dream of peace. Instead, chaos followed him, giants, trouble, and now slavery. As thoughts spiraled, he pictured Aina as a slave, overwhelmed by the implications and social confusion. Snapping out of it, Itsuki rejected everything. He couldn't accept her offer or let it continue. Exhausted, he explained, slavery helped no one. The room quieted, eyes shifting as logic replaced emotion. Itsuki declared his gratitude, rejecting her sacrifice. She saved him, so he'd never allow her enslavement. Itsuki declared the truth. Hayato's involvement meant nothing. He stood by his decision without obligation or regret. He smiled, assuring Aina everything was fine. He would simply remake the potions she felt ruined. Aina resisted, arguing her value. But Itsuki snapped back, refusing to let her beauty be enslaved. Aina froze, confused by his words. Sorte growled protectively, while emotions shifted around the stunned room. Reinrich, intrigued, suggested using Aina as labor. Her status made the offer strangely tempting to others. Reinrich challenged Aina to prove herself. If she insisted on staying, she'd need to earn respect. Aina and Sorte stood silently as Reinrich departed. Itsuki trailed him, unsettled but still holding firm. Later that night, Itsuki collapsed in exhaustion. His mind replayed everything. Could this truly be home? As sleep overtook him, dreams stirred. Tomorrow's promise loomed, peace, duty, maybe even a future with her. He awoke in shock, pinned beneath Aina. Warmth lingered. Reality blurred between awkwardness and something deeper. Itsuki froze, startled awake to find Aina lying atop him, too close for early morning comfort. He jumped back, confused and panicked. Aina remained still, uncertain, her presence entirely sincere and unguarded. She explained softly. Reinrich told her this was a slave's duty. Her innocence clashed with awkward tension. Itsuki cried out in frustration. He blamed Reinrich's manipulation, begging Aina to stop and get dressed. Embarrassed, Aina turned away, asking if something was wrong with her. Doubt and silence filled the air. Aina's confidence wavered. She questioned herself aloud, misreading Itsuki's panic as rejection and personal inadequacy. Before Itsuki could explain, Sorte burst in. Shocked by the scene, she shouted Aina's name. With swift fury, Sorte flipped through the air, ready to punish Itsuki for perceived misconduct. Her flying kick landed with force. Itsuki groaned in pain as the room erupted into chaos. Declaring him a beast, Sorte vowed to save Aina. Itsuki scrambled to explain the misunderstanding. Itsuki, summoned by a goddess, arrived in another world, was bullied, and met terrifying monsters. While recovering, he encountered a strange armored girl who intended to sell herself into slavery. They sat to eat while calmly planning a visit to the slave trader right after lunch. Aina enthusiastically suggested titles for Itsuki, misunderstanding slavery and shocking everyone with her forward, formal devotion. She casually revealed her race's marriage rule, leaving Itsuki confused and the table in stunned silence. Sorte insisted on buying Aina's freedom, but she rejected it, wanting sincerity through her sacrifice. Itsuki tried to lighten the mood by joking about money, but tension between them still lingered. Aina remained resolute. Sorte, realizing her determination, agreed to accompany her despite the risk involved. Protective as ever, Sorte warned Itsuki not to touch Aina, vowing to guard her personally. Despite everything, Aina confirmed her decision again, still calling him my lord as they walked onward. Itsuki couldn't understand Aina's motivations. He admired her resolve, but her actions still confused him deeply. Meanwhile, the Adventurers Guild grew quiet, burdened by the thought of losing someone important to them. The atmosphere turned heavy as Ferris to speak, confused by their gloomy. Ferris reminded them that Aina sacrificed her status for their home, urging them not to waste it. Motivated by her words, the guild resolved to work harder, determined to honor Aina's selfless choice. Heinrich visited the armor shop after a long break. The shopkeeper welcomed her with familiar warmth. He asked about her rumored apprentice. Heinrich confirmed it casually, hiding her thoughts behind a guarded expression. Meanwhile, Itsuki entered a lavish estate. He mistook it for a noble's home, unaware of its purpose. A beautiful woman greeted him kindly. She apologized for the wait and invited him deeper inside confidently. Recognizing Heinrich's name, she smiled warmly and led the blushing Itsuki forward, her steps graceful and assured. Itsuki, Sorte, and Aina waited inside. The lavish room stunned them, elegant beyond anything they'd expected. Lord Yasus appeared with flair, greeting them warmly. He credited Heinrich and introduced himself as the company's representative. As Yasus grinned confidently, Itsuki struggled to stay composed, overwhelmed by tension, doubt, and Aina's close presence. Yasus presented a girl confidently. Itsuki panicked under pressure, unsure how to respond to the awkward situation. The girl bowed elegantly. Her name was Wendy, a flawless product raised by Yasus's renowned company. Itsuki was speechless. He couldn't believe someone as elegant as Wendy was being sold as slave. As tension rose, Sorte demanded haste. Itsuki fidgeted in pain, pressed tightly between armor and overwhelming discomfort. Yasus began evaluation. Aina remained calm, but Sorte panicked, confused why she was being treated as merchandise. Yasus explained Aina's burden. Sorte, emotional yet devoted, agreed to help her by sharing the hardship together. Yasus then described slavery's types, criminals, debtors, and more, while Itsuki listened carefully, absorbing this world's harsh, structured realities. Itsuki listened quietly as Yasus explained royal and tribal slaves. These two, however, were simply indebted. With no more questions, they agreed to proceed. The hallway ahead felt unusually quiet and uncertain. Inside the room, Wendy questioned their skills. Aina answered plainly. Sorte admitted only to basic camping experience. Wendy smiled gently, then masked to take clothes off. Aina and Sorte froze, uncertain how to respond. Embarrassed but cooperative, Aina slowly removed her armor. Sorte watched nervously, unsure if this was necessary. Sorte and Aina hesitantly complied with Wendy's instructions, wearing minimal garments as part of the evaluation. They stood quietly while Wendy approached. Her expression softened, assessing their physical fitness and general health calmly. Wendy smiled gently, thanked them, and asked them to turn. The girls obeyed with nervous glances. Wendy checked Aina's posture and composure closely, explaining the importance of responsiveness and presentation in servant roles. She emphasized that discipline and adaptability were key traits, often considered when determining a slave's overall value. The examination became uncomfortable. Aina struggled silently, her discomfort unnoticed, until the tension rose beyond tolerable limits. Sorte reacted instantly, pushing Wendy away in outrage. Her voice echoed sharply, breaking the mood in the room. Wendy gave a sly smirk, realizing no profit would come from these girls. Her interest had shifted. The paperwork concluded. Itsuki acknowledged the deal quietly. Wendy returned late, as if nothing strange had happened. Aina and Sorte stood silent, visibly shaken. Itsuki asked, but Sorte snapped, urging him not to question. Lord Yasus reviewed the assessments. Aina and Sorte excelled in combat but failed in daily tasks. Yasus explained the results calmly. Both girls were reliable in battle but lacked broader partner utility roles. Curious, Yasus questioned Sorte's limitations. Wendy offered to explain, noting Sorte's data didn't match her true age. Wendy clarified Sorte was still maturing as beastkin. Sorte became embarrassed, angrily dismissing the sensitive conversation. Immediately, Wendy forcibly examined Sorte, laughing loudly. The situation escalated awkwardly, leaving Sorte flustered and helpless in protest. Wendy explained Sorte's beastkin instincts. Her body's traits made human interaction awkward and physically challenging. Final values were assigned. Aina earned 600,000 nar. Sorte followed with 400,000. With payments settled, Yasis summoned the circle. All members gathered, placing hands together to form bonds. As hands touched within the circle, glowing marks appeared. The contract sealed their partnership through magic. A sharp burn struck Itsuki's hand. A glowing crest etched itself, marking him as their master. The contract was confirmed. Wendy explained it ensured loyalty. Slaves couldn't harm their designated master. Ignoring protocol, Sorte launched a test attack. Itsuki barely reacted before a magic backlash struck instantly. The contract activated. A surge of pain overwhelmed Sorte, forcing her to the ground in agony. Itsuki checked on her. She growled in frustration, still disoriented. He calmly warned her against violence. Sorte insisted she was a wolf, not a dog. Suddenly they caught Aina chuckled, made them froze. Aina smiled, sensing tension dissolve. Despite denial, Itsuki and Sorte's bickering hinted at growing camaraderie. The group left the contract house. Papers sealed, bindings complete, they were now officially united. Aina reminded them of their duty to report. Itsuki hesitated, still unsure how guilds worked. Elsewhere, a different group waited. Hayato hadn't returned. Unease spread through the night's quiet camp. A young girl complained of hunger. She searched camp supplies, ignoring warnings about emergency food stocks. Letty panicked when an elf returned from bathing, casually arguing over soup while barely dressed. Letty scolded her, flustered. The elf shrugged it off, confused by human modesty and social limits. As they waited, concern for Hayato grew. The elf teased Letty, encouraging her to bathe too. While the hungry girl dreamed of meat, Letty chased the elf in frustration, shouting in circles. Elsewhere, Hayato sat alone. The forest was still, but something hidden watched from among the trees. Hayato sat under the stars, staring at his hand. The night felt colder than usual. Another figure approached. They both wondered aloud how Itsuki was doing after the contract separation. Meanwhile, Itsuki cheered inside the guild. Adventurers welcomed him warmly, their mugs raised in loud unity. Grateful, Itsuki prepared to leave. One elder reminded him to do his best with his group. Adventurers apologized to him sincerely. Thanks to Aina's influence, they now stood united and hopeful again. The guildmen toasted farewell. One reminded Itsuki he was a drifter, different, yet part of them. A careless comment triggered Sorte's rant. She fiercely defended Aina, frustrated by assumptions about appearance and roles. Itsuki stood up, overwhelmed. Tired of tension, he expressed how exhausting the group's dynamic had become. As Itsuki rejoined others, Sorte whispered doubt. Aina looked unsure, watching him with mixed emotions and silence. Sorte warned Aina not to fall for his charm. Sorte grumbled, sipping from her mug. Sorte sulked at the table, groaning. Aina watched quietly, unsure whether to scold or comfort. Aina watched the room, unsure how to feel. Her smile slowly faded into thoughtful silence. After a pause, Aina smiled faintly. Maybe she was simple. Or maybe she just cared. The tavern roared with cheer. Itsuki declared the world wonderful, promising a party using his skill. Grinning, Itsuki activated his ability. A coin dropped into his hand. He shouted confidently, "Pocket money!" Itsuki flaunted his skill. But behind the cheers, funds ran low, and reality began sinking. Others peered in, confused. Itsuki kept dancing, unaware of worried glances and judgment from bystanders. The moon shone over tired faces. The party ended in silence. Bottles empty, guests asleep. Itsuki passed out amid barrels and mugs. His thoughts drifted. This too was part of the journey. He recalled the faces he met. Aina, Sorte, Hayato. Each left a mark in his heart. With coin in hand, Itsuki smiled. His second life had begun, simple, peaceful, and entirely his. Itsuki visited the tavern, delivering potions. The adventurers were idle, quests gone, taken by Red Front. Aina and Sorte, Red Front elites, pledged themselves to Itsuki to repay a potion mishap. Despite servitude, Aina and Sorte fought fiercely, collecting rare alchemy materials as part of their duties. With their help, Itsuki's alchemy progressed steadily. His skills improved, his confidence grew, and debt faded. Each morning, Itsuki invoked pocket money, smiling quietly, his slow life supported by loyalty, effort, and magic. Itsuki exhaled deeply, casting his skill. With a flick, the familiar coin appeared in hand. His skill had evolved, no longer copper. A gold coin sparkled. Pocket money reached level 2. Staring out the window, Itsuki clenched his fist. He finally decided today would be for him. Despite his dreams of ease, life meant failed potions, strict mentors, and endless days in Heinrich's lab. With money secured, he ran into town, seeking comfort, leisure, and alluring services he'd only imagined. Sitting alone, Itsuki munched quietly. Though rich now, he had nowhere specific he wanted to go. Lost without a map, Itsuki met Yasis and Wendy, familiar faces from the local noble estate. Wendy, elegant and graceful, introduced herself. Itsuki was stunned. Her smile made his morning brighter than gold. While explaining his day off, Itsuki admitted he barely knew the city. Yasis offered unexpected company. Yasis smiled thoughtfully and proposed Wendy as guide. Itsuki agreed, unaware this walk would change everything. Wendy gently offered to help him rest. Her kindness masked the deeper loyalty she quietly carried. Flustered, Itsuki quickly denied dissatisfaction. Yasis smiled, satisfied, and Wendy formally offered her service with grace. Shopping together, Wendy tried on new clothes. Itsuki was speechless. He'd never done this with anyone before. Awestruck, Itsuki chose outfits for both. Wendy's beauty stunned him, but he remained respectful and careful. Wendy promised to cherish the gift. Though he wore old clothes, Itsuki's heart felt unexpectedly full. Stood outside, Wendy offered care. Itsuki, overwhelmed, realized he cherished her soothing presence. Hand in hand, Wendy led him out. Her warmth gave him courage to follow freely. They drank tea by a sunny window. Itsuki smiled wide. This was the slow life fulfilled. Surrounded by street performers and laughter, they strolled. The town felt brighter. Holding hands came naturally. Wendy laughed beside him. Itsuki beamed back. In this world, joy had finally become real. Just as peace settled, a noble's voice pierced the street. Wendy's name rang with authority. Itsuki turned as Wendy hesitated. The man barked questions, suspicious and jealous, ignoring Wendy's unease entirely. Dadarel demanded answers, angry and possessive. Itsuki stepped forward calmly, shielding Wendy, insisting she was no object. Dadarel, a noble's son, flaunted status and wealth. His claim 120 million nar to buy her. He shouted for Yasis. Wendy stayed close to Itsuki, unfazed, while he froze at the number. Without hesitation, Itsuki pulled Wendy close. Boldly, he declared his will to protect her. Status be damned. Dadarel trembled, veins bulging, lips twitching. Rage boiled behind his eyes as his servant cowered behind him. After a disappointing hunt, Aina and Sorte walked home, knowing everything collected belonged to their master. Aina expressed frustration with servitude. Still, duty bound her to gather herbs for her alchemist lord. In town, Wendy surprised Itsuki with an affectionate move. Caught off guard, he struggled to respond. Itsuki stayed calm, brushing off shock. He claimed resilience from harsh workdays, baffling Wendy and silencing Dadarel. Furious, Dadarel erupted. Insults flew, threats echoed, but Itsuki and Wendy stood firm, unmoved by noble rage. Tensions exploded. Dadarel and Itsuki both claimed Wendy. Emotions surged as Wendy trembled in the middle. Dadarel, furious and irrational, began to charge energy. Itsuki stood firm, uncertain but ready to respond. Later, in private, Wendy asked quietly if Itsuki truly intended to buy her from servitude. Before Itsuki could answer, someone arrived. His presence stirred tension. Wendy didn't know how to stop. Yasis arrived, catching Dadarel mid-outburst. Everyone turned. The situation finally reached someone with true authority and sense. Yasis challenged Dadarel's bluff, asking if he truly had the 130 million nor to pay now. Dadarel panicked. Yasis clarified Wendy wasn't sold, only assigned as a temporary guide for the guest. Dadarel invoked his father's name. Calmly, Yasis challenged the threat, unbothered by political pressure or intimidation. Despite protests, Dadarel begged for time. Yasis accepted reluctantly, but tension brewed between all three men. With a smirk, Yasis proposed a duel, Itsuki versus Dadarel, to decide Wendy's future once and for all. Wendy stood tense, sensing hostility. Yasis smirked silently. Wendy clutched Itsuki, unsure of the sudden confrontation. They entered the Alchemist Guild seeking materials. Aina greeted Heinrich politely while tired Sorte yawned beside her. Aina asked about the master alchemist. Heinrich pointed back, confirming Itsuki was inside the room working alone. Sorte pushed the door. Aina followed. They found Itsuki immersed in notes, completely unaware of their presence. They brought rare supplies. Itsuki nodded, surprised but grateful for their effort today. Then Sorte noticed something. Sorte discovered shining accessories scattered across the table. Her eyes sparkled with curiosity and childish excitement. Aina questioned the jewelry's purpose. Itsuki hesitated, clearly nervous, while trying to explain their unexpected presence. Sorte exploded in frustration, her scream echoing across the town. Itsuki flinched, already regretting the situation. Sorte revealed the truth: the accessories belonged to Dadril's son, known for power, pride, and cruelty. Sorte lashed out with harsh words. Itsuki stayed calm but wounded, enduring insult after insult in silence. Aina defended Itsuki's actions. Tensions eased when he revealed he'd planned a city outing with Sorte. Sorte reacted strongly, unsure of her feelings. Itsuki apologized. Aina redirected the talk toward the upcoming event. Itsuki revealed the contest raised funds to free Wendy. He needed 80 million nar to succeed. Sorte erupted in fury again. Itsuki endured the assault. Aina struggled to keep both sides under control. Calming down, they agreed to help. Itsuki requested they collect accessory materials. Aina accepted with steady resolve. Plans delayed, Itsuki chose potion sales. Aina apologized, but he accepted the setback without hesitation or complaint. Aina praised him warmly. Sorte, bursting with energy, dragged her out to hunt materials with determination. Elsewhere, Wendy sat in solitude. She waited, troubled by thoughts of the looming challenge. She told Itsuki he didn't need to help. Still, he smiled, choosing to move forward anyway. He reassured Wendy gently. Confidence replaced her fear. Together, they vowed to face the trial ahead. Wendy, troubled by uncertainty, questioned the motives. Yasus sensed her worry and gently sought the truth. Yasus appeared, unapologetic. He called it fortune, a calculated gamble. Wendy stood silent, quietly absorbing the betrayal. Yasus gently assured Wendy their situation would improve. She quietly listened, unsure if she could truly believe him. Wendy revealed her origin as a rare slave with choice. She suspected Yasus planned to sell her. Itsuki confronted Dadero, shocked he'd been offered as a wager without consent. The game's stakes grew personal. Later, Yasus casually asked Wendy about her day. Her unease deepened, recalling Dadero's probing stare earlier. Itsuki smiled to comfort her. Wendy hesitated, then nodded faintly. Their uncertain alliance had quietly begun forming. Wendy questioned Yasus's cruel time limit. The task was overwhelming, yet he remained eerily confident. Her hesitation revealed doubt. Yasus pushed further, testing her faith in Itsuki's strength under impossible odds. Yasus insisted that Itsuki wouldn't abandon her. His assurance felt manipulative, but Wendy couldn't argue back. Meanwhile, Itsuki worked late into the night. He believed the challenge might help both of them. Reinrich advised rest and observed his progress. She hinted that Wendy and Sorte shared concerning details. Reinrich teased Itsuki's youth while sipping tea. Their light argument eased tension after discussing serious matters. As tea was poured, Itsuki admitted doubt. He wanted independence, selling potions without guild restrictions. Reinrich reflected on his words, then mentioned Dadero. She hinted that potions might not guarantee profit. She revealed Dadero's odd appearance masked influence. The pig beside him was actually a guild manager. Itsuki grasped the harsh truth. Making money from potions would be difficult. He sighed, frustrated but understanding. Reinrich concluded her advice, encouraging Itsuki to expand beyond potions. He quietly reflected on the idea. While thinking, Itsuki received a message from Hayato. An old connection reappeared without clear purpose. Hayato asked for help through the screen. Itsuki recognized urgency. Something dangerous was already unfolding nearby. A massive phoenix emerged from smoke. Hayato's party stood firm, ready for what came next together. The girl summoned a whirlwind, launching enemies. Another struck fast beside her. The group attacked in rhythm. The girl shielded her ally from a charging beast. She shouted urgently while granting access to supplies. The phoenix spread its blazing wings. Its energy rose further, releasing power that overwhelmed nearby attackers instantly. After the clash, Itsuki praised the effort. He promised to return with dungeon ore next time. Hayato launched forward with precision. He hurled a glowing blade that pierced through the phoenix's defensive barrier. Weapon drawn, Hayato challenged the phoenix. He smiled confidently, prepared for a true fight. The beast roared. Hayato confirmed the request through his guild card. The girls celebrated as smoke cleared around the battlefield. Back at the workshop, Itsuki admired the guild card's utility. Real-time contact like a magical phone. He resumed crafting. Despite exhaustion, he pushed on, refining tools and formulas through precise, silent concentration. Out hunting, Sorte struck swiftly. Aina tried to speak, but Sorte focused fully on her prey. With materials gathered and stress relieved, Aina smiled. Sorte agreed it was time to head home together. Aina gathered materials with care. She hoped they'd help Itsuki craft valuable items back at home. Sorte vented frustration about the item's use. She disliked how something important felt misused and trivialized. Aina stayed calm, sipping tea. Sorte fumed louder, frustrated by Aina's relaxed attitude and blind forgiveness. Sorte wrestled with her thoughts. She was irritated but couldn't fully reject how Itsuki acted either. Despite her outbursts, Sorte still denied her feelings. She mocked preferences to mask emotional confusion and pride. Still flustered, Sorte forced a grin. She rallied herself, eager to overload Itsuki with tasks. Back at home, chaos erupted. Heinrich offered a suspicious potion, claiming it would energize a tired Itsuki. Before he could object, the girls pinned him down. Shiro declared it a gift, with lethal enthusiasm. Itsuki awoke slowly, his vision blurry, head resting on something warm, realizing it was a lap pillow. Still groggy, he was gently offered water while wondering he'd been resting on Aina's armored legs. Overwhelmed by fatigue, Itsuki ignored her flustered protest and insisted on staying in that comfortable position longer. Sorte, red-faced and annoyed, stood over him, warning not to take advantage of her kindness anymore. Startled by her reaction, Itsuki scrambled upright, confused, as Sorte turned away with an exaggerated pout. Itsuki finally stood, asking about Aina while Sorte called him an absolute idiot. Aina greeted him gently. They served him a meal. Itsuki devoured everything rapidly, feeling calmer once his stomach was full. He stared at the crafted accessories, shocked they were made under drug influence, with no memory. Heinrich appraised their total value, 40 million nor. Itsuki had 5 days to repay 36 million. Materials were depleted, time was running out. Itsuki sat, anxious, searching for another way to earn. While examining the last remaining ore, Itsuki experienced a sudden revelation upon seeing it vibrate mysteriously. Once a regular office worker, Itsuki Shinomiya began his unpredictable journey in this strange alternate world. Despite failures and mental strain, he tirelessly recreated inventions based on vague memories from his old life. Driven by human knowledge and desire, he crafted a tool meant purely to bring others pleasure. After countless attempts and full dedication, Itsuki proudly completed his ultimate invention, declaring it the pink rotor. Sorte and Aina noticed the device. Curious, they asked Itsuki what he was holding up. Flustered and evasive, Itsuki struggled to describe the tool, while Sorte guessed it was for massages. Sorte teased Aina, suggesting she test it. Aina hesitated but was intrigued by the idea. As the device activated, Aina's face flushed, surprised by the sudden and intense physical sensation. Unable to control her reactions, Aina trembled, overwhelmed by the vibrating tool pressed against her skin. Overwhelmed by the vibrations, Aina's body grew numb, unable to resist the strange device's powerful effects. The sensation became too much. Aina collapsed, euphoric, while Sorte casually remarked how relaxing it looked. Aina turned to Sorte, asking her to try. Sorte questioned the tool's intended use, still unconvinced. Itsuki nervously explained it originated from his world. Sorte stared blankly, silently compressing her growing frustration. Without warning, Sorte grabbed her weapon, fuming. She asked bluntly if she could end Itsuki now. Cornered by Sorte's glare, Itsuki tried escaping the room, but she angrily warned him to stop. Outside under moonlight, Itsuki admired his invention again, planning to sell it quickly for profit. He whispered Wendy's name, remembering his promise, then scouted nervously for potential shopkeepers in the district. A group approached him. Smiling, he assumed they were customers, unaware he was now their target. Before he could react, they advanced. He stumbled, tension rising as their expressions turned unnervingly sharp. Itsuki tripped while escaping. The men exaggerated injuries, demanding he pay for imaginary medical treatment. Surrounded, Itsuki offered a potion. Suspicious of extortion, he accused them of working for Dedaro directly. Shocked by the accusation, they denied everything. Itsuki dashed off before they could restrain him again. He shouted a fake distraction about gold coins, confusing them long enough to sprint far ahead. As they chased him with weapons drawn, Itsuki smirked, activating his pocket money skill just in time. As a sword swung toward Itsuki, a girl suddenly appeared and struck the attacker down without hesitation. Landing gracefully under the moonlight, the girl looked back confidently at the stunned Itsuki, whispering, "I made it." Itsuki froze under the moonlight as the cloaked girl appeared, her fur strangely glowing pure white. He recognized her. Same girl from his arrival day, small, quiet, sold as a slave. They met again in town. While eating together, she revealed her name, simply Shiro. Later that evening, hostile men blocked their path. Shiro stepped forward alone without hesitation or fear. Standing firm in the alleyway, Shiro declared herself as Itsuki's shield, her expression calm and unwavering. Shiro warned them coldly, any threat to Itsuki would be met with lethal consequences. Without hesitation, a thug lunged forward recklessly, but Shiro dodged easily. Her reflexes were precise and completely overwhelming. She prepared to strike a fatal blow. Itsuki, panicked, pleaded for mercy before it was too late. Shiro obeyed his command but left the attacker severely injured. Her movement was swift, exact, and brutal. Shiro launched herself toward the remaining enemies. Their shock was instant as her body soared through air. With the enemies defeated, Shiro stood victorious. The townspeople watched, overwhelmed by her unexpected strength and confidence. Itsuki thanked her. Shiro calmly explained her mission. Yasus had ordered her to protect her new master. Confused, Itsuki asked about her home. Shiro clarified Yasus was her former master, but Itsuki was now. Though Itsuki couldn't take her home yet, Shiro accepted the delay and quietly followed him without hesitation. Walking side by side, Shiro gently gripped his coat, expressing trust. Their strange bond had just begun. Shiro curled peacefully beside Itsuki. The Lord observed her fondness, while Itsuki awkwardly dismissed deeper meaning. In a private room, Itsuki presented his idea. He planned to sell a mysterious object for profit. Yasus scoffed at the price, saying it was worth far less. Itsuki remained quietly determined. Itsuki clarified he wasn't selling the item itself, but exclusive production and marketing rights for it instead. Yasus understood his plan clearly. This pink rotor was a massage tool, and rights meant business ownership. Yasus expressed interest in the product. Itsuki, excited, asked to discuss contract terms before final decisions. Yasus raised concerns. No assurance of return, no supply guarantee, and the price seemed too steep. Itsuki countered confidently, saying he could gather materials and ensure stable supply with help from others. Shiro silently observed, realizing trust was difficult to earn when proposing business to someone newly acquainted. To prove sincerity, Itsuki offered himself as collateral, willing to become Yasus's slave if the deal failed. Wendy's memories appeared as Yasus warning Itsuki seriously. His offer wasn't something to make lightly. Yasus laughed at the bold proposal, accepting the deal and dropping the slavery clause entirely. Yasus expressed interest in full ownership. Permanent rights meant no need for a symbolic contract between them. With a piercing glare, Yasus warned Itsuki. Betrayal would destroy trust and eliminate all future opportunities immediately. As talks concluded, Itsuki nervously asked one more favor, shifting the conversation away from business entirely. As morning broke, Itsuki finished making rotors. Exhausted and yawning, he noticed the sun already rising. A sleepy Shiro wandered up. They had reached the guild, but she was barely keeping upright. Despite her drowsiness, Shiro insisted on protecting Itsuki, even while being carried across the cobbled road. Elsewhere, thugs were scolded by their boss for failing to stop the stranger. Rage filled the hall. The nobleman Dadarel dismissed warnings. Determined to win, he planned sabotage, regardless of risks or consequences. Dadarel vowed revenge, swearing to kill if anyone dared touch his Wendy. While Wendy bathed quietly. Wendy, quiet and reflective, softly uttered, "My master," as she washed, lost in conflicted thought and silence. The next morning, at the Alchemist Guild, Itsuki arrived. The duel date had yet to finalize. Face to face with Dadarel, Itsuki stood calm as the rival demanded he admit defeat in advance. Itsuki boldly summoned Dadarel to settle their contest. Dadarel assumed superiority and mocked him arrogantly. Unfazed, Itsuki insulted Dadarel. Sorte and Aina stood by, eager to witness the explosive outcome. Lord Yasus declared the result early. With confidence, he announced the victor between the two rivals. Itsuki revealed towering sacks of money, 80 million in profit. Dadarel was speechless, overwhelmed by disbelief. With a triumphant fist raised high, Itsuki claimed total victory. Dadarel's humiliation was absolute, and public Lord Yasus reaffirmed the outcome. Itsuki achieved his target first, leaving Dadarel confused and speechless. Yasus declared the contest finished. Enraged, Dadarel shouted in denial, violently refusing to accept his defeat. Desperate, Dadarel accused Reinrich of bribing Itsuki. He pointed wildly, grasping for any explanation to invalidate judgment. Reinrich calmly handed Dadarel a document. Suspicious and panicked, Dadarel grabbed it, demanding to know its contents. It was official payment confirmation. Reinrich had purchased accessories worth 40 million directly from Itsuki's business. Reinrich defended the valuation, stressing Itsuki's alchemical skill. The price was fair, not exaggerated. Dadarel panicked, suspecting conspiracy. Itsuki's eyes teary, touched by Reinrich's help. Yasus presented a royal seal and contract, confirming the remaining sum came with royal endorsement. The device, called the pink rotor, was approved by the king and sold officially for 40 million. With a confident smirk, Itsuki declared victory. For him, losing was never an option, only survival. Wendy calmly asked Dateral to accept the outcome. His loud denials grew more desperate and irrational. Dateral demanded Wendy return. She stood firm, refusing to go back to someone she didn't choose. Wendy declared loyalty to Itsuki. Her heart and body belonged to him, not to Dateral anymore. Suddenly, a massive object crashed into the building, shocking everyone and interrupting the tense confrontation instantly. Broken and humiliated, Dateral ran off cursing. He believed everyone was conspiring to mock and ruin him. Snapping under pressure, Dateral ordered a brutal attack. His thugs charged, prepared to kill without hesitation. Heinrich sighed at the recklessness. Aina and Sorte readied themselves to intercept Dateral's incoming forces immediately. Wendy trembled, but Itsuki comforted her with resolve. She believed in him more than anything else. Aina vowed to protect Itsuki alongside Sorte. Sorte protested, being called a dog, insulted but ready. Shiro, a nimble cat warrior, arrived dramatically. With confidence, she reminded them she was part too. Aina charged forward with fierce determination. Sorte and Shiro followed closely, ready to strike down attackers. The trio clashed with Dateral's men. Blades and fists collided in a chaotic and explosive skirmish. Shiro delivered a clean kick. Sorte deflected a strike. Aina met brute force with trained steel. Watching the fight, Wendy reflected fear. Itsuki explained he lacked strength, unable to fight, but stayed beside Wendy. Despite his weakness, Itsuki promised to never let go. His strength was in standing by Wendy. Itsuki held Wendy's hands tightly, confessing he wanted to stay by her side no matter what. Overwhelmed with emotion, Wendy recalled her feelings since meeting Itsuki. Tears welled up, heart fully opened. Dateral, still blinded by rage, screamed for blood. Even innocent lives no longer mattered to him. Aina and Sorte had subdued the attackers. Calmly, they questioned the point of Dateral's reckless escalation. Heinrich mocked the noble father, blaming his foolish son. Itsuki demanded accountability for the Red Front. Through the shattered wall, Darwin, supervisor of the West District, entered with an unreadable gaze and presence. Itsuki looked up in shock. The authoritative figure before him was the local district supervisor, Darwin himself. Darwin stood silently with a mysterious girl. Itsuki wondered why such a man traveled with her. Dateral flinched at Darwin's voice. The intimidating father demanded clarity, stepping forward to assess the full conflict. Darwin was surprised by Dateral's formality. He questioned why his son didn't simply call him Papa. Itsuki watched Darwin ramble about being called Dad, confused by the man's strange sense of formality. Despite the joking, Darwin's aura felt overwhelming. Unlike Yasis or Heinrich, his presence demanded instant respect. Dateral tried to justify himself. Darwin ignored him, fixated on the fact this was about Wendy. Darwin scolded Dateral bluntly. Losing was losing, no excuses. Once defeated, the result would never change again. Darwin approached Itsuki, impressed but cautious. Shiro instantly drew her blade, warning him not to advance. Darwin sarcastically praised Itsuki's allies, calling them pawns. Itsuki stood firm, unsettled by the man's twisted tone. Darwin requested cooperation. Itsuki struggled to calm Shiro, whose drawn sword heightened the tension between them. Itsuki convinced Shiro to stand down. She obeyed reluctantly but threatened Darwin if anything felt suspicious. Darwin slouched onto the sofa confidently, signaling control. The mysterious girl remained quiet beside him, observing. Everyone sat for discussion. Darwin listened closely, piecing together the events while Yasis offered hospitality to guests. Dateral, tied and humiliated, begged for understanding. Darwin dismissed his excuses, seeing them as childish desperation. Dateral protested his worth as a son. Darwin coldly denied any blood relation, further deepening his shame. Darwin, furious and sarcastic, claimed true sons wouldn't disgrace him. He openly questioned Dateral's right to exist. Darwin repeated his life lesson. Mera affirmed it calmly. Winners fight hard, losers must accept and move on. Yasis listed Dateral's violations, slandering Yasis and attacking the Alchemist Guild, breaching neutral diplomatic pacts in place. Darwin requested compensation for mental damage. Yasis, unfazed, demanded payment for emotional trauma caused by Dateral's violence. Yasis subtly pressures Itsuki with financial terms, reminding him he's married. Itsuki mentally recoils from that unsettling image. Heinrich, appearing calm, lists reparations. She demands the wall be fixed and then casually claims ownership of Darwin's bank. Darwin collapses in dismay after hearing her decision. Itsuki shows no surprise while Mira confirms her choice confidently. Darwin pleads for mercy. Reinrich offers a compromise: shared authority over loans. Itsuki considers it without outright rejection. Reinrich threatens to expose Darwin's son's crimes. Itsuki feigns confusion while Darwin is crushed by the brutal leverage. Darwin lashes out in frustration, blaming the captured criminal for causing him repeated trouble through illegal dealings. The Tide Daryl panics as Darwin warns him about harsh punishment from the church and public humiliation. Darwin tries to regain favor by offering help. Itsuki feels cornered while Reinrich lightly mocks his unease. Shiro confronts Darwin with deadly pressure. Darwin nervously praises her, realizing she could kill him without effort. He also praises Wendy's kindness. He invites her over, trying to gain her trust despite visible hesitation. Itsuki defends Wendy from Darwin's remarks. Darwin mocks him while touching Wendy, provoking tension between both sides. Darwin tests Itsuki's resolve. Itsuki stays firm, refusing to yield or allow others to claim his people. Itsuki confidently declares his intent to enjoy life. Darwin doubts his survival, but Itsuki shrugs off danger. Itsuki refuses reconciliation. He insists justice be served for Darwin's wrongdoing. Darwin shows interest in his origins. Darwin offers marriage to Meira as a gesture of goodwill. Itsuki reacts with confusion at the proposal. Meira flirts boldly with Itsuki, teasing him. Though intrigued, she challenges whether he could actually satisfy her. Overwhelmed, Itsuki awkwardly declines the proposal. He humbly admits he can't meet Meira's demanding expectations. Itsuki requests a favor. Reinrich encourages him to speak freely and ask for whatever he truly wants. Instead of riches or power, Itsuki enjoys a quiet moment. He sips tea, embracing peaceful solitude. Over tea, Reinrich notes his chaotic luck. Itsuki points out things worked out, with many perks gained. Reinrich considers the bank a fair reward. Itsuki downplays it, calling it modest and cooperative compensation. As Aina and Sorte approach, Itsuki laughs awkwardly, realizing Darwin's plan was to swindle them from the start. Reinrich assigns Itsuki a task. He agrees and leaves to meet Darwin's approaching messenger with calm composure. Walking through town, Itsuki denies being lucky. The girl suggests otherwise, teasing him about unexpected benefits and ease. With the map in hand, Itsuki leads forward. Aina and Sorte support him with growing affection. Led by the map, Itsuki and the girls reach a destination. A towering estate stands ahead. He finally arrives at his goal, a home of his own in this new fantasy world. Arriving at the door, Itsuki hesitates. Aina admires the house while Sorte silently judges his house. Unsure how to respond, Itsuki questions Aina's comment. Sorte compares it to worse places they've seen. Though everyone waits, Itsuki delays entering. He admits nervousness, unsure what to expect inside this unfamiliar new home. Memories surface of his first apartment. Itsuki reflects on how far he's come since that moment. Even with doubts lingering, Itsuki opens the door. He quietly steps inside, still sorting through conflicted emotions. Wendy walks gracefully through the hall, dressed formally. Her expression is calm, prepared to fulfill her role. She greets Itsuki warmly, catching him off guard. Her smile is sincere, while he's filled with confusion. Wendy explains her presence confidently. Itsuki is flustered, surprised by how naturally she accepted her servant duties. Just as Itsuki's heart swells with joy, Darwin interrupts, casually greeting him with a teasing smirk. Darwin reassures him everything promised is real. Itsuki struggles to believe this luxurious home now belongs to him. The house includes premium furnishings, a bath, and an alchemy lab. Darwin offers it as compensation. Darwin departs, trusting Itsuki to manage the estate. Itsuki thanks him and prepares for tomorrow's visitor. Itsuki welcomes the girls inside, granting them room freedom. Wendy offers tea, maintaining her dedicated servant role. Wendy calls everyone for dinner. Itsuki jokes about sleeping outside. Sorte questions his sudden burst of responsibility. Aina and Sorte test the bed's comfort. They're amazed, agreeing it surpasses local inns by far. Sorte convinces Aina to join her for a bath. They eagerly head off, chatting with excitement. Meanwhile, Itsuki relaxes alone in the steamy bath, finally able to release the tension he carried. He stretches, reminiscing about overwork and small joys from his old life. The luxury feels surreal now. While washing, he starts wondering about practical inventions. His thoughts shift toward alchemy, but someone stepped in. Wendy enters unexpectedly. Calm and sincere, she offers to wash his back, leaving Itsuki frozen in shock. Itsuki panics as Wendy calmly approaches. She insists on washing his back, leaving him stunned and speechless. As water is poured gently, Wendy offers to join future baths. Itsuki blushes, unsure how to respond. Wendy begins scrubbing his back. Itsuki fights embarrassment, trying desperately to stay composed under the awkward pressure. Wendy leans forward too closely. Itsuki flinches in surprise, instinctively reacting to the sudden physical proximity and softness. Wendy requests him to turn around. Itsuki mentally panics, realizing she's about to wash his front next. Wendy embraces Itsuki from behind. His thoughts spiral, fearing he'll draw his sword from excitement. Wendy confesses her feelings, grateful to belong to him. Her gentle honesty catches Itsuki completely off guard. Their faces move closer as tension builds. Itsuki tries to speak, but emotion keeps him quiet. As they close in, Sorte barges in, frustrated by the delay. Aina tries to calm her caught red-handed. Wendy and Itsuki freeze. Sorte and Aina stare silently, judgment heavy in the humid air. Itsuki panics, trying to explain the situation, while Sorte furiously accuses him of impropriety and disrespect. Sorte breaks down, crying that Aina now hates her, while both storm out, leaving Itsuki stunned and guilty. Itsuki defends himself, saying nothing happened. Suddenly Aina apologized, facing Itsuki, Sorte, and Wendy sincerely. Aina firmly declares it's their responsibility to assist Itsuki, while Sorte admits she pushed work onto Wendy. As Aina steps forward, determined to help, Itsuki is forced out of his own bath in frustration. Aina slips dramatically onto the floor, leaving everyone shocked and concerned by her unexpected fall during movement. Itsuki despairs over his ruined bath. Sorte reacts quickly, shielding Aina, as tension turns chaotic yet again. That night, at Darwin's residence, guests apologize for troubling the household, speaking regretfully about the matter with Dadaril. Dharma listens quietly as Meira explains Dadaryl's disgrace and how it hurt their family, standing deeply. Though Dharma agrees with her, she grows tired of the topic, criticizing Dadaryl's stupidity and his ungrateful behavior. Dharma expresses interest in meeting the drifter responsible, noting his bold actions during the recent guild incident. Morning sunlight spread over the quiet countryside, warming the peaceful rooftops and distant silhouette of the estate. Shiro stood on the rooftop, watching birds fly away, ears twitching at every flutter and chirp. Curious and alert, Shiro padded swiftly through the hallway, sniffing the air to confirm a familiar scent. Stopping outside a closed door, Shiro leaned in carefully, listening for sounds, then peeked inside with quiet curiosity. Inside the room, Itsuki remained fast asleep. Shiro entered softly, calling out to her master with concern. Itsuki muttered anxiously in his sleep, reliving a stressful dream. Shiro watched quietly, confused and concerned. Shiro gently patted Itsuki's head, soothing him while he mumbled incoherently, slowly easing into calmer breathing. Sunlight filtered through the window. Shiro turned her gaze, blinking softly as she sensed morning had arrived. Itsuki sat up groggily and found Shiro sleeping by his side. He quietly whispered her name. Wendy entered with breakfast. Itsuki explained Shiro's presence. She sighed, brushing Shiro's hair and calling her troublesome. Wendy approached to wake Shiro, but paused. Itsuki reassured her softly, choosing to let Shiro rest peacefully. Everyone gathered for breakfast. A rich spread was laid out, and their eyes sparkled with sudden hunger. They praised Wendy's cooking. Sorte felt defeated, realizing she couldn't compare. Still, she quietly admired the meal. Despite enjoying the food, Itsuki's chaotic table manners disturbed Shiro, who sat speechless, watching him eat sloppily. After finishing, they politely thanked Wendy. Tea was served, and the peaceful morning routine drew to a close. Itsuki, now living peacefully, enjoyed another lavish dinner. Wendy's cooking brought them comfort and daily satisfaction together. The next morning, teasing remarks emerged. Sorte joked about Itsuki's dependence, hinting Wendy had fully domesticated him. Defensive and passionate, Itsuki ranted about food's power, how flavor and anticipation made every meal deeply meaningful. Moved by his words, Wendy became the emotional center. Her meals gave the household hope and unity. Afterward, Wendy quietly thanked Shiro for cleaning. Peace settled over their home, supported by shared responsibility. Shiro quietly observed that Wendy had changed. Her cooking felt warmer now, filled with subtle affection. Gathered together, the group listened as Itsuki nervously prepared to express his gratitude for their support. He revealed small, thoughtful gifts, tokens meant to thank each of them for their help and friendship. Moved by the gesture, Aina, Sorte, Wendy, and Shiro accepted. Their expressions softened, touched by Itsuki's genuine effort. Wendy promised to cherish it while Sorte murmured, "Then you." Itsuki beamed, heart quietly full of joy. Itsuki offered them to stay longer, but Sorte declined. Their debt must be repaid through adventure. With cheerful farewells, they parted. Aina warned them to stay safe, while Itsuki tried calming Sorte's energy. Later, tension returned. The group worried Range might discover their situation and misunderstand their bond with Itsuki. Despite unease, Sorte marched forward with purpose, vowing to do her best with determination and pride. That afternoon, under Yasu's supervision, Itsuki formed a formal contract with Wendy and Shiro, solidifying their unity. With hands united and words spoken, the magical contract was sealed, solidifying loyalty and shared fate. Yasu accepted the outcome with humor. Itsuki apologized humbly, grateful for being entrusted with their futures. As dusk approached, Itsuki sat silently. Wendy called to him, finding him watching the distant hills. He explained he was considering using the open land for farming, a peaceful idea sparked by contentment. Wendy asked curiously. Itsuki answered with ease. The tranquil setting had inspired him to start anew. Itsuki gently held Shiro in his arms, silently promising a life of warmth, care, and peace. Wendy joined them, her heart softening as she watched. A new peaceful family dream began to form. Just as comfort settled, a knock echoed. Wendy peeked out. Strangers had come, bringing unexpected tension inside. Dharma introduced himself formally along with Meira. His words disturbed Itsuki's peaceful life. Dharma introduced himself proudly, listing achievements and ties. Itsuki listened, sensing an overly confident, pushy tone. Later, Dharma visited Itsuki's home with Meira, formally expressing gratitude and regret for past misunderstandings. He apologized for the trouble caused by Daryl, admitting the situation had grown worse than they realized. Dharma offered to explain further, but Itsuki declined, preferring to leave the issue quietly in the past. While smiling, Dharma judged Daryl's worth, silently questioning why someone chose such a disgraceful man as family. Dharma insisted on thanking Itsuki again for Darwin's matter, showing unusual sincerity that made everyone tense. Itsuki requested he stop calling him young master. Meira, observing closely, warned him to stay alert. Dharma confessed his admiration, ranking Itsuki third, just after his adoptive father, with strange passion and sparkling conviction. Itsuki felt deeply uncomfortable while Meira fiercely declared him off-limits, annoyed by Dharma's charming but pushy attitude. Later, outside the house, Dharma casually checked on Itsuki's comfort, acting as if nothing had happened. Itsuki praised the bath's quality, surprised to learn Dharma personally designed it with thoughtful consideration. Meira explained she had listened to Drifter's feedback and worked hard to meet Itsuki's expectations. As she offered city guidance, Itsuki reflected on her poise, puzzled by her adoption background. Dharma and Meira bid farewell, respectfully offering support, while Itsuki acknowledged them with quiet appreciation. Shiro, tired and hungry, clung to Itsuki. He apologized and promised dinner. Wendy was grilling tonight. Dinner was served in full. Laughter filled the table as Itsuki, Shiro, and Wendy enjoyed everything. Afterward, Itsuki rested in a chair with Shiro, both stuffed from the hearty meal Wendy prepared. Wendy offered a bath she'd prepared. Shiro instantly insisted on joining, and Wendy promised to follow. With warm water flowing, Itsuki helped Shiro wash gently, making sure she was clean and comfortable. Shiro pouted but obeyed. Itsuki finished washing her and guided her to soak and warm up. Shiro playfully splashed around, ignoring Itsuki's warnings as she swam freely despite being part cat. Nearby, Wendy approached, asking how the bath felt. Shiro relaxed deeply, purring in peaceful satisfaction. Wendy entered quietly, her expression calm as she prepared herself to join them in the bath. Itsuki advised Shiro to soak up to her shoulders. She nodded lazily, enjoying the warm water. Wendy stepped in silently. Itsuki turned, surprised by her presence as she carefully began rinsing herself. Wendy gently stepped into the bath. Itsuki turned, briefly startled, as she addressed him softly. With quiet grace, she joined them. Shiro rested calmly, while Itsuki offered space for Wendy beside him. Silence lingered briefly. Wendy looked away, nervously rubbing her neck, unsure how to ease the mood. Mustering courage, Wendy asked if she could visit his room. Her voice trembled, but eyes steady. Itsuki responded with a quiet, "Yeah." She leaned close, the evening ending beneath a still, moonlit sky. Alone in his room, Itsuki rested quietly. A knock broke the silence. He gave permission softly. Wendy entered gently, eyes lowered. Her voice trembled as she called to him, seeking quiet reassurance. Itsuki smiled kindly as Wendy offered help, but he declined, promising to teach her next time. Memories surfaced, his first date long ago, blurry but bittersweet, contrasting the quiet joy he now felt. As silence lingered between them, Wendy gently reached out, her hand softly covering his with care. Wendy reassured him with calm words, reminding him of her role. Though his heart was conflicted, turning toward her, Itsuki spoke truthfully. His feelings were real, and he had fallen for Wendy. Wendy hesitated but finally asked, unsure of herself, wondering if her feelings were returned or mistaken. Though quiet at first, Wendy gathered her courage, clenching her arm as she softly admitted her feelings. With trembling voice, she tried to speak, confessing slowly, uncertain how to explain what she felt inside. Memories overwhelmed her, time spent with him, warmth shared, and her truth finally spoken with tearful sincerity. Elsewhere, whispers spread, men compared themselves, but Wendy knew her master was kinder than any she'd known. Wendy embraced him tightly, expressing she no longer cared about status, only the comfort he gave. Trembling, she leaned in close, seeking warmth and reassurance, asking softly for him to accept her. She whispered her wish, pleading not out of duty, but from deep longing to be truly his. Lying beside him, vulnerable and sincere, Wendy offered herself completely, trusting his heart more than words. Their connection deepened in quiet embrace, not from obligation, but suddenly, someone stepped in. Shiro entered half asleep, surprised to see Wendy so close to Itsuki in the night. Itsuki panicked, stammering excuses while she stared blankly, simply asking if Wendy was feeling all right. He quickly redirected Shiro's attention, offering help to distract her while Wendy remained silent on the bed. Morning light crept through the leaves as Itsuki stood outside, unable to fall asleep after everything. Shiro found him wandering. She spoke calmly. Wendy had made breakfast, and a new day began. During breakfast, Wendy smiled warmly, offering him more soup. Itsuki accepted gratefully, cherishing her gentle care. He announced his plans to visit Heinrich. Wendy glanced away nervously while Shiro kept eating. As he prepared to leave, Wendy stopped him gently, worried but hiding it behind a soft voice. He promised her he'd do better next time, holding her hands with silent resolve and gentle strength. With a warm smile, Wendy let him go, quietly wishing for his safe return from Heinrich. Itsuki stepped out with confidence, smiling quietly to himself as he approached the quiet streets of Heinrich. At the Alchemist Guild, he showed his progress. Heinrich inspected it, noting his steady improvement. While joking, Heinrich teased him, wondering aloud if he was tired of cute girls already. Their talk shifted toward past mistakes. She mocked his restraint and scolded his hesitation with amused cruelty. Heinrich sighed deeply, disappointed. With a cold stare, she insisted it was time for his education. Heinrich poured the drink without hesitation. Itsuki questioned it, but reluctantly accepted and sipped the strong liquor. She lectured him harshly, yet honestly. Itsuki admitted his fears, hurting Wendy by acting on uncertain feelings. Heinrich spoke of women's truths, how feelings always show through. Itsuki doubted her, earning a sharp retort. Itsuki lifted his glass high, declaring a wild night. Heinrich warned him she wouldn't clean his mess. Later, he passed out drunk. The innkeeper smiled kindly, wishing him good night as he snored peacefully. Heinrich caught him mid-fall, muttering to herself as she steadied his drunken body with a sigh. Later that evening she watched him sleep soundly, reflecting on Wendy's fate, trapped by quiet devotion. The mansion trembled loudly. Wendy smiled darkly while Itsuki stood frozen, nervous about what might happen next. He opened the door, greeted by Wendy's leap. She welcomed him, cheerful despite his awkward return. Wendy served tea kindly. Itsuki sipped quietly, avoiding Shiro's eyes as tension built in the room. Remembering his promise, Itsuki apologized. He swore to fix things, though guilt weighed him heavily. Wendy's words reassured, but her hollow smile revealed pain. Itsuki realized his mistake wasn't yet forgiven. Wendy walked alone, clutching a stray, her voice quiet. She had waited, but he never came. Itsuki stared at the sky, overwhelmed by guilt. Her sadness replayed in his mind without pause. Memories surfaced, harsh words exchanged, broken promises. He realized he'd hurt others before, not just Wendy now. He sat up, firm in thought. Even if rejected, he would apologize clearly, without avoiding the truth. Wendy approached silently. Itsuki looked up. She asked gently. He nodded, heart heavy, hoping she'd still care. Sitting together in silence, Itsuki hesitated. Words clogged his throat as Wendy quietly waited beside him. He stood, bowed deeply, and apologized. His voice cracked, but his sincerity reached straight to Wendy's heart. With eyes lowered, Itsuki admitted his failure. He knew he broke her trust, and it hurt deeply. Wendy exhaled, half smiling. Her voice softened as she forgave him, but only just this time, she warned. She gently clutched his shirt, asking not to be left again. Itsuki nodded, this time truly listening. After their emotional moment, Wendy prepared lunch. Itsuki casually asked Shiro to join him afterward outside. As they cleaned up, Shiro asked curiously. Itsuki, holding dishes, hinted at something he wanted to try. They gathered outside. Itsuki, feeling protected too long, wanted to change. He revealed a strange spinning device. Wendy gasped in awe. Itsuki called it space magic. She asked if it was his special skill. He explained calmly, gifted by the goddess leveled up recently. A backup plan, once ignored, now tested. Itsuki activated spatial magic. A glowing shield formed around him, enclosing his body in shimmering protection. Excited, he explained the transparent wall was self-made. He asked if it could keep him safe. He requested Shiro to test it. She readied her weapon, slightly hesitant but trusting his confidence. With a sharp cry, Shiro lunged forward. Her first strike hit hard, but the wall held steady. Itsuki urged her to keep going. She struck repeatedly. He watched anxiously, surprised the wall resisted it all. Curious about magical resistance, Itsuki asked Wendy. She offered to help, revealing her knowledge of spells. Wendy approached calmly, magic swirling around her. Itsuki gave the signal, preparing himself behind the barrier. She cast Water Bullet without hesitation. It struck the shield. He braced himself, and the wall held. Grateful and excited, Itsuki suggested a trip to town. Shiro cheered, eager for food and fun. Suddenly, chaos broke out. Sorte and Aina chased a beast through the forest, weapons drawn and ready. Aina charged with precision, blade cutting through the beast. Her strength and form showed no hesitation. Sorte wiped sweat, catching her breath. Around them, monster bodies lay still, hunting for the day complete. Later, beside the fire, Sorte sipped stew. Aina stirred the pot quietly, voice soft and calm. Sorte reassured Aina about simple meals. Aina hesitated but admitted her insecurities about pleasing those she admired. Aina confessed her doubt. She wanted to contribute more, feeling unworthy if judged by Renji again. At the city's second wall, a young girl shouted. Her voice echoed, desperate to get through. The guards blocked her path. Despite her pleas, they insisted, orders had come not to let her pass. Fists clenched, voice cracking, she confessed. No coin, no bribe. Just urgency and empty hands trembling with hope. Renji rushed toward the checkpoint, her tail swaying, insisting on entry despite the guard's visible hesitation. Sensing danger from behind, Renji growled sharply, her sharp instincts alerting her to something approaching fast. One guard turned, confused, as a sudden blur passed his vision, leaving him frozen in silence. Before he could react, Renji delivered a fierce spinning kick, knocking him back without breaking her stride. She sprinted inside, slamming the gate behind her, while the other guard shouted and blew his whistle. Renji dashed through the town gates, shouting her intent to help before anyone else got hurt. Meanwhile, a living potato-shaped creature bounced through the market, confusing locals and catching curious eyes. Itsuki approached the odd creature as Wendy explained it was a moa, a hopping vegetable species. Surprised, Itsuki realized vegetables could walk here, unlike back home, where only fish had any mobility. Shiro suddenly grabbed him, begging for food while already chomping on the living vegetable without hesitation. Shiro cried out for meat, and Itsuki laughed gently, promising her a full, hearty meal. Wendy smiled at Itsuki's request and confidently offered to guide them to the town's best place. They walked side by side, Shiro skipping happily behind, as Wendy squeezed Itsuki's hand affectionately. Later, the three enjoyed a massive feast together, laughter rising while Shiro devoured meat with joy. Meanwhile, distant guards patrolled under the moonlight, still hunting the intruder who had slipped past earlier. Renji sprinted across rooftops under moonlight, frustrated by the guards' relentless pursuit through the night. She launched into the sky and crashed through a wall, landing forcefully beside a stunned man. Meanwhile, Shiro was surrounded by guards. She raised her weapon as they shouted commands to freeze. Renge grabbed Itsuki as hostage, warning everyone not to move as she demanded safe passage now. She pleaded with Wendy for trust, insisting she only needed help briefly to protect her friends. Wendy cried out as Shiro paused, torn between her master's call and the need to act. Itsuki, injured but smiling, told Shiro to protect Wendy while guards closed in from behind. As the moment turned, Renge signaled Itsuki to flee with her through the alley ahead. Itsuki activated his space magic, charging power while fleeing with Renge through the narrow back streets. A spell burst behind them, shattering the wall, as the pair vanished deeper into the shadows. A loud slam broke the chase as Renge struck a guard, clearing the path ahead. Itsuki apologized quickly, while chaos spread among the confused soldiers inside the narrow corridor. Without hesitation, Renge and Itsuki fled together, pushing forward before more guards could surround them again. From above, Wendy called out to Shiro, asking her to stay and protect Itsuki instead. Shiro nodded silently, leapt into the air under moonlight, accepting her new mission with fierce resolve. The hostesses cheerfully waved goodbye to guests, their charm disguising the tense undercurrent behind the scenes. A new hostess guided them inside, her calm voice masking curiosity as she prepared their table. Renge grew uneasy, questioning Itsuki's decision to hide in what clearly appeared to be a brothel. Itsuki discovered Renge had skipped a toll due to lack of money, complicating her situation further. While Renge insisted her friends were in danger, the hostess gently asked for her name and story. Itsuki revealed the letter from Sorte, explaining Aina and Sorte had been captured by a pervert. The letter described disturbing abuse, leaving Itsuki horrified and furious as he read its disturbing content. Renge misunderstood the letter's context, determined to save her friends, while Itsuki tried to explain calmly. A hostess suddenly recognized Itsuki as the rumored master of the Red Front. Renge turned to him sharply. Renge suddenly tackled Itsuki, furious. She thought he had deceived everyone and taken control unjustly. Rumors spread fast. Aina and Sorte were called his slaves, sparking suspicion and fear among adventurers. Months earlier, in the Adventurers Guild, someone quietly approached Red Front, gave them a quest. Renge's name kept appearing on nomination lists, raising questions about the origin of these frequent requests. An urgent mission involving an Earth Dragon arrived. Renge rushed ahead, determined to resolve things herself. Despite concerns about her carelessness, Renge insisted the mission was simple and handled it confidently alone. Smiling proudly, Renge promised she'd stretch her legs a bit before taking on the task ahead. Upon reaching Rukaku, the heat and exhaustion hit hard, but she pressed forward toward her destination. Walking through the familiar streets, Renge muttered about the heat, tail swaying while locals went about daily life. Suddenly, children surrounded her with excitement. They recognized Renge instantly, shouting joyfully and tugging gently at her arm. Renge greeted the children warmly, quickly noticing Shama's arm. Concern grew as she questioned the visible injury. Shama revealed a tragic event, an Earth Dragon attack while traveling, injuring his father and straining their family. Feeling responsible, Renge handed Shama a pouch and asked him to deliver it to his father. She smiled gently, saying it was repayment for an old favor, though she'd delayed it for years. Before leaving, she joked about her hunger, then kindly asked them to send her regards to their father. Renge invited the children to join her for food, creating a warm, happy moment with everyone smiling. As the sun began to set, Renge headed toward the Rukaku Adventurers Guild to report in. The old guildmaster welcomed her kindly, explaining that most members were absent due to recent dragon attacks. He recalled the Earth Dragon's emergence. Adventurers failed, ordinary weapons ineffective against its powerful scales and savage strength. Dragons vanished like phantoms, hiding under sand. 3 remained, last seen 5 days ago near a southern oasis. Renge scouted alone in disguise, realizing the ambush was risky, especially if Sorte had come instead. Suddenly, the earth beneath the dummy shook violently as a giant dragon burst upward in a surprise attack. After 3 days of patient tracking, Renge finally spotted one and prepared her mechanical weapon for battle. Confident and furious, she faced the dragon, shouting threats and charging in to deliver divine punishment. Back home that night, Aina casually informed Sorte the bath was free, unaware of Renge's fierce battle. Back home, Sorte began writing a letter to Renge, concerned and wondering if she was okay. Under a full moon, Renge clashed violently with the Earth Dragon, using raw strength and sharp instincts. Despite her heavy armor, Renge took a hit and cursed. This monster was faster than she expected. The dragon's rotating tail struck hard. Renge braced, muttering that its body was exactly as tough predicted. Renge powered up, stance solid. Next move would be decisive. No more holding back against this armored beast. With intense focus and speed, Renge launched forward, muscles tight, ready to unleash her final attack. Her punch struck the dragon's jaw dead on, cracking through its armored hide with explosive force and fury. Even as the beast wailed in pain, Renge wrestled against its limbs, refusing to let it dominate. Covered in slime and blood, she stood victorious. 1 slain, 2 dragons still left to be hunted. 2 weeks later, Renge relaxed alone in a desert spring, recovering silently from the brutal desert mission. Renge returned to town. Children celebrated her victory, 3 dragons down. Grateful voices filled the marketplace streets. A boy thanked her with joy. His father's recovery was now possible thanks to Renge's courageous effort. Renge settled accounts at the guild, joking about dragon meat. Payment would arrive later. She didn't mind. The guildmaster handed her a letter. Her eyes widened. It was from Sorte. Aina had sent it. After reading the letter, Renge dropped her weapon and dashed off, alarmed. Something urgent had happened. Renge stormed out of the guild, yelling there was an emergency, completely forgetting the letter behind. She raced through the wilderness, furious, Aina and Sorte in danger. She swore to rescue them herself. The name burned in her mind. Renja clenched her fists, blaming everything on one man, Itsuki. Her fury boiled as she recalled the rumors. Teeth grit, she marched forward with burning resolve. Suddenly, she found him, Itsuki. Without hesitation, she stepped forward and shouted, demanding him to stop immediately. Renja drew her blade, but Shiro blocked it, furious. If Renja moved again, she would strike. Itsuki called out in shock, "Shiro!" As the confrontation twisted into something far more personal and unexpected. Renja blocked the hallway, growling at Shiro. Shiro refused to retreat, tension thick between them both. Steel met steel. Shiro parried fiercely as Renja's full strength surged forward, forcing their blades into deadlock. Onlookers gasped as the scuffle escalated. Renj pushed harder, shouting at Shiro, unaware of the gathering crowd. A man suddenly stepped between them, stopping Shiro's strike. Renj scowled, surprised by his sudden, unannounced interference. Renja broke free and punched the ground near them, cracking stone. Her fury now shifted toward Itsuki. Shiro launched a high kick, but Renja blocked it with her knee, instantly shattering Shiro's dagger midair. Renja seized Shiro's leg, yanked her downward with force, then hurled her across the tavern in frustration. Shiro's flying body alarmed nearby guests. A girl shrieked, shielding herself as Shiro flew straight toward them. Shiro landed awkwardly on the girl's back, stunning both and drawing even more shocked looks from the crowd. Shiro sprang up to attack again, but Renja was ready, taunting her and preparing a counterattack immediately. Shiro flipped over Renja's swing, evading narrowly. Her body twisted mid-air, preparing for a swift counterattack. Both fighters paused, analyzing each other's stance. Shiro readied her arms while Renj braced for the strike. With speed, Shiro's leg whipped through the air, landing a clean kick across Renja's side with impact. Renja's body jerked violently from the blow. A loud snap echoed as she bit down from pain. Renja was thrown across the floor. Before either could move again, Itsuki arrived and halted everything instantly. Shiro stood over Renja's body, raising her claws with murderous intent, ready to finish the fight. Before Shiro could strike, a hand grabbed her wrist firmly, interrupting the final blow at the last second. Itsuki explained Renge's identity. Shiro paused, realizing Renge wasn't the enemy but a misunderstood ally instead. Renj, still weak, confirmed everything. She mentioned Aina and Sorte, vowing to rescue her dear companions herself. Renge, defiant and emotional, declared her resolve to save them alone. Itsuki urged Shiro to leave. Wounded but determined, Renja whispered about contacting Aina and Sorte, ignoring everything else around her completely. Sensing danger, Shiro caught movement and immediately pulled back her master, narrowly dodging an object thrown toward them. The thrown object missed Itsuki by inches. Shiro's instincts saved him, but danger still lingered in the air. Shiro declared she'd hold off any threat. She told Itsuki to run ahead without hesitation or delay. Shiro charged forward bravely. Itsuki began casting magic, trusting her words and vowing to succeed no matter what. Renja activated her magic with fury, vowing Shiro wouldn't escape. A deadly spell ignited beneath her feet. Crystalline spikes exploded from the ground as Reng yelled. The spell surged outward, sharp and fast. Shiro reacted fast, dodging the spike barrage while shielding herself. Itsuki ran in the distance behind her. As Shiro landed, her eyes widened. Renja's magic wasn't targeting her, it was aimed at someone else. A spike pierced Itsuki's side. Blood followed. His eyes trembled, caught completely by surprise mid-sprint. Itsuki collapsed fully, blood soaking his side. His dazed mind slowly registered something was terribly wrong. Lying on the cold floor, Itsuki groaned. Blood dripped freely from his hand, real, painful, and his... Shiro knelt beside him, panicked. She urged him to stay conscious, shaking him as he winced deeply. Renja approached again, her voice sharp. She told Shiro to move. Shiro froze, but her body trembled. Suddenly, town guards burst into the scene. A new voice declared the fight over. Everyone halted immediately. Surrounded by soldiers, Reng stood still. Shiro knelt by Itsuki, her expression numb and quietly devastated. Lord Yasus arrived, sighing at the damage. He assessed the chaotic scene with grim disapproval. Wendy pushed through the guards, pleading to reach Itsuki. Her desperation struck a nerve in everyone. She reached his side, embraced him gently, and begged for him to stay alive a little longer. Itsuki opened his eyes weakly, tears falling. Wendy called out, voice shaking, worried about her master. The guards surrounded Renj with spears raised. Wendy cradled Itsuki tightly, pleading desperately for him to live. Shiro looked back silently. Wendy cried out for help, but Renja's face turned cold and determined. Yasus ordered medical treatment. Wendy assisted quickly, pressing potion on the wound while Itsuki groaned in pain. A guard stepped forward and declared Renj under arrest. Spears closed in as she stood in silence. Without warning, Renge activated magic underfoot. The guards shouted, but she raised her leg, ready to break through. Renge cast quagmire, softening the ground. Guards stumbled and sank, confused by the sudden shift beneath them. The guards panicked, legs swallowed by the boggy terrain. They shouted, unable to move or keep balance. Renge leapt high above the chaos, landing atop solid floor, leaving the soldiers trapped in her wake. Madness surged through Renge's eyes. She charged Wendy, overwhelmed by the urge to kill without hesitation. Wendy shielded Itsuki with her body. As Renge closed in, she braced silently, refusing to move. As Renge charged Wendy, Shiro suddenly leapt in, intercepting midair, catching both combatants off guard. Shiro's kick smashed into Renge's side, sending her crashing backward in pain, her balance completely lost. A crack echoed as rubble collapsed. Shiro landed hard, stunned, while Renge disappeared beneath broken stone debris. Shiro stood over Renge, now unconscious beneath rubble. Smoke curled upward as silence finally returned to the room. Shiro watched silently as Renge was taken into custody. Yasis gave the order. Guards moved in. Shiro remained calm, reminding everyone their injured master, Itsuki, needed immediate attention more than gratitude. Wendy insisted they rush him to the Adventurers Guild, where his potions were stored for emergencies. Renge collapsed in bruised. Yasis ordered the guards to escort her safely to his mansion's care. Outside the Adventurers Guild, Yasis gave a final look, ensuring everything was prepared to treat Itsuki. Lying unconscious, Itsuki twitched faintly. Wendy stayed by his side, praying silently for his safe recovery. Itsuki awoke confused and weak, surprised to find himself in the Adventurers Guild, treated with care. Shiro burst in emotionally, leaping onto Itsuki while apologizing repeatedly, overwhelmed with guilt over his injury. Tears welled as Shiro admitted she failed to protect him, blaming herself entirely for the critical wound. Itsuki gently comforted Shiro, reminding her bravery saved him from worse. He owed her his life. Wendy and Shiro watched tearfully as Itsuki thanked them both, grateful for their courage and support throughout. Wendy explained that the potions saved Itsuki's life, though a scar would always mark the wound. Itsuki anxiously asked about Sorte and Aina, but no one had seen them since the attack. Suddenly, Aina entered, announcing that Renge was now being held under watch at Lord Yasis's mansion. Aina returned in armor, having heard everything from Yasis, her face somber as she faced Itsuki. She bowed deeply, apologizing for the incident, insisting this was the least she could offer now. Aina confessed Renge was responsible for the attack, shocking everyone with the unexpected truth behind her apology. Revealing Renge's past, Aina explained she once fought beside her, now bewildered by her friend's betrayal. Wendy demanded answers about Sorte's whereabouts, while Aina hesitated, knowing the truth would upset them even more. At Yasis's mansion, Renge lay in chains, charged with crimes including assault, smuggling, and forcing the gate. Bound in shame, Renge faced punishment for attempted murder, destruction, and betrayal of those who trusted her. Renge heard the guard confirm Itsuki's survival, lowering her head as guilt quietly swelled within her. Yasis delivered his verdict coldly, showing no sympathy, only disappointment that her actions failed to kill. Renge struggled against enchanted chains, but even her strength couldn't snap the bonds forged for monsters. The restraints suppressed both magic and might, crafted from rare copper, sealed with anti-casting talismans by Yasis. Renge gritted her teeth. Meanwhile, someone panting hard, desperation driving her toward an unknown purpose. Sorte rushed in, shocked to see Renge bound and broken, unable to comprehend the harsh reality. Sorte found Renge chained beneath the roof, trembling. She reached out, sensing danger was close behind. Yasis stood coldly by the door. Renge was restrained, and Sorte raised her voice in protest. Furious, Sorte accused Yasis of cruelty. She condemned him for locking Renge up without any reason. But Yasis barked back harshly, blaming Sorte. He claimed her recklessness caused damage and endangered her master. Yasis revealed a hidden letter. It was Sorte's doing what summoned Renge and triggered all this conflict. Yasis coldly reminded Sorte that her intentions meant nothing, only consequences mattered in the eyes of justice. He declared Renge a criminal. An ally was harmed and someone important nearly died during the chaos. Facing Sorte, Yasis condemned her again just as guilt overwhelmed her. Renge shouted loudly to stop him. She burst out, rattling chains, demanding why Sorte alone should carry blame for Renge's crime. Renge confessed fiercely. She claimed responsibility, saying she acted alone to protect Aina and Sorte without regret. Sorte, crying, stopped Renge. Her voice broke as she insisted Renge was wrong to bear everything alone. Sorte admitted the truth. She and Aina had not been abused and Renge misunderstood their situation. Ashamed, Sorte apologized through tears. Renge, confused and worried, asked why she was suddenly apologizing like that. Lord Yasus explained grimly. Sorte and Aina weren't mistreated, they'd agreed to a debt-based slavery contract. The truth emerged. The guild wronged a merchant, and Sorte and Aina took punishment in silence. Renge realized the truth. Sorte and Aina had become slaves, but they willingly accepted that outcome together. Yasus clarified the letter's contents were misleading. It wasn't a warning, just unfinished words from Lokag Guild. The letter's delivery came too late. The damage was done before all the truth had surfaced. Sorte was stunned, speechless. The truth overwhelmed her. Everything had spiraled from a misunderstanding she never intended. In the past, jealousy and fear clouded her. She resented his presence, and the way Aina smiled. Sorte remembered the joyful moments with Itsuki and Aina. Despite her resentment, he welcomed her warmly. Itsuki forgave her without hesitation. Holding a flower, he smiled, never judging her for what she'd felt. In his presence, anger turned to laughter. Slowly, happiness replaced guilt, and her heart began to open. But shame returned. She recalled writing the letter in secret, driven by confusion, fear, and pride. Weeping, she admitted it all. She hurt Renge, endangered Itsuki, and realized she'd acted like a child. Sorte dropped to her knees, sobbing apologies. Her repeated "I'm sorry" filled the silent, tense room. She begged for mercy, claiming fault. Willing to do anything, she pleaded for Renge's forgiveness and safety. Renge, furious, defended Sorte. She shouted that calling him a slave trader could bring even worse danger. Renge confessed again. She asked to be punished instead. Yasus dismissed the letter. He only wanted truth. Through tears, both apologized. Renge acknowledged Sorte's sincerity, touched by her kindness. Then, Lord Yasus quietly applauded them. Yasus praised their unity, calling it admirable. Yet his tone shifted. Law and consequence would still follow. He raised his hand with authority. Tears wouldn't change the sentence. They'd be judged without exception. Yasus mocked Sorte. Her reputation as an adventurer meant little now. He threatened her with criminal slavery. Renge accused Yasus of wrongdoing. He dismissed it coldly, claiming the law, not emotion, would decide their fate. Just then, the man they all knew entered the room, Itsuki apologizing softly, but his voice carried weight. He stepped forward calmly, asking Yasus to listen. With a smile, he challenged the situation's fairness. Yasus paused, surprised. Sorte's tearful gaze lifted with hope, as everything now hung on the man's words. Itsuki stood up, surprising everyone. Though wounded before, he confidently faced the room, hiding his deeper concern. Sorte froze, overwhelmed by guilt. Seeing Itsuki alive brought tears. She couldn't move, only whispering broken apologies. Falling to her knees, Sorte confessed everything. Her voice trembled. She believed she'd ruined everything beyond repair. Itsuki gently touched her head. He smiled warmly, not with anger, but calm reassurance she didn't expect. He pulled her close without hesitation. "Leave everything to me," he whispered. She finally burst into tears. Renge opened her eyes slowly. Cold air stung her skin. Shackles rattled in the dim room. Itsuki arrived, requesting Renge's restraints be removed. Lord Yasus refused, branding her a dangerous criminal immediately. Itsuki tried reasoning, offering to pay damages, but Yasus dismissed him, deferring judgment to the Lord. Still negotiating, Itsuki promised more gold. Yasus mocked him gently, intrigued but not yet convinced to act. Itsuki raised his voice, pleading personally, but Yasus's reply was cold and final, impossible, sealing Renge's fate. Aina stepped forward firmly, pledging full responsibility. She begged Lord Yasus to release Renge and Sorte. Yasus asked coldly if she'd become their criminal slave. Aina accepted, determined to protect her friends. Sorte cried out, pleading for Aina not to do it. Itsuki was shocked by her resolve. Yasus, slightly stirred, clarified the misunderstanding. Forgiveness alone wasn't enough. Justice had to follow, regardless of sentiment. He explained lawbreakers must be judged. Order must prevail, even if hearts were broken in return. Yasus gave a firm rejection. Law governed all. He urged Itsuki to abandon hope and comply. Itsuki hesitated, then admitted the law was unshakable. Still, he wasn't finished presenting his argument. He shifted approach, asking Yasus not as a lord, but as a merchant, a negotiator. Itsuki offered himself, his knowledge, his origins, as leverage. He reminded Yasus how valuable foreign insight could be. Turning around, Itsuki proposed an exchange. He hinted at Alchemy's promise, suggesting a deal beyond mercy. Itsuki changed tone completely, proposing a calculated deal, offering himself as collateral to overturn the harsh ruling. Despite Yasus's warnings, both Itsuki and Aina insisted. Itsuki proposed direct competition to settle the matter. Itsuki declared clear terms if she won. both Renge and Sorte would walk away freely, untouched. Yasus revealed a twist. The final decision didn't rest with him. Itsuki realized persuasion alone wouldn't suffice. Yasus leaned in with interest. He approved the proposal, but reminded them the risk of losing everything. Itsuki made his final offer, lifelong servitude if they failed. His self-sacrifice stunned everyone in the room. Reng shouted in disbelief. Bound and overwhelmed, she couldn't understand why he'd risk everything for her. Itsuki smiled gently. He hinted Renge's importance to Aina, and Sorte justified his resolve. Family meant everything. In a flashback, Reng remembered their desperate flight. It struck her, she had always been protected. Tears streaming down her face, Reng realized her guilt and shame. She blamed herself completely, calling herself foolish. Shiro quietly warned Itsuki. Yasus's partner Jordan wasn't functional. The challenge could become dangerously one-sided now. Despite that, Itsuki smiled confidently. Shiro's calm faith in him only strengthened his reckless determination further. Bound by pride, Yasus accepted the challenge. As a merchant, backing down would tarnish his name. Yasus revealed the challenge format, a repeat of a past trial requiring swift, high-stakes economic strategy. Itsuki's task was set: earn 120 million Noru in 1 week to claim full victory. Yasus laid out restrictions: no use of shared pink rotor rights. Help from allies remained permitted, however. As a temporary arrangement, Renge and Sorte were entrusted to Itsuki's custody until the game concluded. A new day began under bright skies. After long negotiations, calm finally settled over the group. Tired but relieved, Itsuki led everyone outside. Their exhausted faces hid the weight of the night. Reng stopped him. Her tears returned as she begged forgiveness, overwhelmed by guilt, still seeking redemption herself. Sorte broke down, admitting everything. She tearfully insisted Renji wasn't to blame, it had all been her. Aina also apologized to Itsuki. He reassured them both, the pain had passed and they'd endured enough. As sunlight returned, Itsuki smiled and declared it time to rest. Their long ordeal was finally over. They returned home, but something felt off. Wendy greeted them with a smile that masked deep anger. Itsuki apologized for his absence. Renji was recognized by Wendy. With quiet steps, Wendy suddenly slapped Renji. Wendy took control calmly. She asked everyone to settle in and prepare for breakfast. Peace returning gradually. Privately, Wendy confessed her fear of being left behind again. She just wanted to feel included. Itsuki offered no false hope, only honesty. Some things can't be undone, but comfort can still remain. Together at breakfast, they shared laughter and bread. A slow life awaited, but not quite yet. Itsuki awoke late in a soft bed, far from home, birds chirping outside unfamiliar walls. Reflecting on his new world, Itsuki stood gazing toward town, unsure what trouble awaited him. Shiro and Renge mistook him for a threat, and their ambush shattered his peaceful life instantly. Although chaos followed, Itsuki survived the clash. He now had to defeat Yasus to help friends. With 7 days remaining, Itsuki worked non-stop, crafting supplies for the challenge that could decide everything. Yasus gave strict conditions: earn 120 million Nords in 1 week, with all help forbidden. Itsuki realized banned items ruined his best plan. Crafting alone wouldn't raise enough money quickly enough. Half the goal was saved, but the rest remained uncertain. He headed to the bathhouse and met Shiro. Shiro insisted on joining him. Itsuki smiled, hoping the warm water would calm his anxious thoughts. While relaxing, he scolded Shiro for stealing food. She apologized shyly, claiming she was only hungry. Itsuki accidentally walked into the bath and froze. Renge and Sorte were already bathing together inside. Panic struck as Sorte grabbed a bucket. Itsuki frantically apologized, shielding his eyes in embarrassment. Still flustered, Sorte covered herself and glared. Her quiet words made Itsuki turn away in shame. Renge and Sorte sat silently. Itsuki, confused by Sorte's mood shift, tried asking about her behavior. Sorte snapped, shouting at him. Her frustration boiled over. Renge watched quietly. Itsuki received a soaking blow. Shiro stared at Renge before called her. Shiro walked up and opened her arms, demanded shower. Together they helped bathe Shiro. Steam rose. Sorte calmly instructed her, while Renge quietly softened inside. Renji broke the silence, asking if Shiro was hurt. Shiro smiled, praising her strength without hesitation. Everyone laughed. Despite the earlier scolding, Shiro's cheer returned. Even Ren seemed more at ease again. Later, Wendy offered snacks. Aina tasted one and quietly whispered thanks, surprised by the comforting flavor. Wendy offered snacks with a smile. Aina praised her skill, quietly calling her amazing without hesitation. Aina admitted feeling useless despite her strength, ashamed of depending on Itsuki more than she had planned. With her back turned, Aina called herself pathetic. Wendy replied calmly, not judging, only listening in silence. Wendy confessed her devotion. She'd give anything for Itsuki, but he always kept emotional distance from her. Itsuki held her hands, saying he loved Wendy. Tears welled up. She finally heard what she needed. Wendy encouraged Aina, expressing faith in her. Aina smiled faintly, hearing hope where she expected scolding. As sunlight broke through the sky, Aina stood firm, vowing to give her best too. Itsuki's face twisted in stress. Only 5 days remained, and progress had stalled despite his best efforts. He panicked, imagining tied up and punished by Yasus. He knew he couldn't finish everything alone anymore. With no other options, Itsuki considered Darwin, though uncertain. The danger behind that choice deeply unsettled him. As Itsuki wrestled with anxiety, Wendy entered gently, announcing an unexpected guest waiting downstairs. To his horror, it was Darwin's daughter, smiling warmly. Panic hit. Why had she come now? Trying to stay calm, Itsuki questioned Meira's presence. She mentioned the brothel incident. He turned pale instantly. She asked about the money. Itsuki admitted his struggle. She listened, her tone calmly empathetic. With a curious look, Meira suggested introspection. If things are hard, maybe the problem starts with him. Meira questioned Itsuki's abilities, hinting that his secret powers might go beyond just alchemy. Leaning closer, she smiled. She asked about new skills, sensing he may be hiding something. Itsuki pondered deeply after Meira mentioned the goddess. He wondered what kind of skills he received. He activated his status card, summoning it with a tap. Curious, Meira asked him to display everything. The glowing screen listed various skills. Alchemy was notably high. Unique skills like pocket money stood out immediately. Surprised, Itsuki noticed his alchemy skill had improved. He began realizing how often he'd unknowingly used it. Examining his hand, he understood his progress. With tools around, he prepared to craft something practical again. Itsuki studied forgery and hand molding carefully. Both offered benefits, but their limitations couldn't be ignored. He planned unique items with hand molding, then considered mass-producing them with forgery despite quality reduction. Meira reminded him of his outsider status. He now needed to plan sales and resources carefully. Staring forward, Itsuki gathered resolve. He prepared to speak, asking everyone in the estate for support. Sorte, Rengjie, Aina, and others listened quietly. Itsuki's request would change their future together, starting now. Sorte, Rengjie, and Aina reacted eagerly, shouting with loyalty before hearing what Itsuki actually needed. Itsuki handed them a resource list. He requested urgent collection, hinting it was crucial for crafting. His second request startled them. One of them had to strip. Confusion filled the quiet room instantly. They misunderstood his intention. Aina bravely volunteered, unaware he meant something else entirely for alchemy testing. The girls rallied with high energy. With confidence and unity, they left to fulfill his request. Itsuki requested Wendy's help. She agreed immediately. Meanwhile, Shiro napped while everyone else got moving. He worked through the night using forgery and hand molding. Fatigue hit hard despite enhancement potions. Wendy covered him gently, whispering gratitude. His final words before sleep focused on tomorrow's selling task. Standing tall, Itsuki announced their timeline. 4 days remained. Everyone gathered for the final business push. Products were ready. The team raised their fists in unity, determined to sell everything together. Crowds gathered in the market square. Curious adventurers and townsfolk were drawn by the mysterious new shop. Intrigued by the buzz, a group of girls admired from afar and decided to investigate together. As the crowd parted, the trio Rengjie, Aina, and Sorte stood proudly on the front display stage. Dressed in dazzling outfits, the 3 girls captured everyone's attention. Their confident stance boosted the shop's presence. Itsuki cheered loudly from the side, promoting their goods with energy. Customers flooded toward their booming stand. Rensch praised the gear's strength and comfort. Sorte added it provided blessings, clearly gaining customer trust fast. Aina described its beauty and versatility. Adventurers and fashion lovers alike were enchanted by the design. Excitement erupted. Everyone wanted the same items the girls wore. Itsuki offered discounts to boost sales. Wendy and the team managed the customers efficiently. Smiles and laughter filled the lively marketplace crowd. Backstage, Meira approached Itsuki with pride. Their plan was working. He smiled, quietly relieved it succeeded. The strategy worked. Shiro and the others drew attention, increasing demand for women's gear instantly. Meira reminded Itsuki about the borrowed property. He hesitated, disliking favors, but appreciated the opportunity anyway. Though reluctant, Itsuki acknowledged her support. Meira admired his honesty, finding him interesting despite his awkwardness. 3 days remained. Itsuki entered full production mode, creating, selling, repeating, driven by a burning deadline ahead. With joy and relief, they celebrated together. The goal was met. Everyone gave their all proudly. Wendy blushed with gratitude. Itsuki thanked her for her role in designing the outfits and accessories. At Yasu's mansion, Itsuki proudly delivered the full amount the funds secured Sorte and Renga's freedom. Yasis confirmed the 120 million nar. Itsuki declined dinner, keeping his promise fulfilled and intentions focused. Later that night, everyone gathered to celebrate. They toasted with joy. Sorte cried from overwhelming relief. Laughter echoed. Itsuki drank heavily, satisfied. The others cheered, though a few warned him not to overdo it. Renji approached Itsuki shyly, apologizing for past troubles. He listened calmly, holding his drink with care. They smiled under the moonlight. Everyone was safe. That was enough. Gratitude ended the journey peacefully. Itsuki leaned out the window, inhaled deeply, then forged a potion using his mysterious forgery skill. After crafting several vials, he confirmed his skills had leveled up. Alchemy reached 9, triggering experience circle. He glanced at the unfamiliar words floating mid-air. Confused, he stared blankly at the blue morning sky. Back home, Shiro mentioned the rising costs. Itsuki reflected. More mouths meant more effort to sustain comfort. Wendy offered to help, but Itsuki refused firmly. As provider, he vowed to handle everything himself. Wendy's words reached him deeply. She didn't want riches, only to share happiness with Itsuki. Despite her support, Itsuki begged Reinrich for more work, hoping extra income would ease their burden. Reinrich warned him sternly. She admired his progress but reminded him not to neglect his alchemy. Itsuki explained how the new skill appeared. While crafting, experience circle activated, effortlessly raising his alchemy proficiency. Reinrich listened carefully. She told him to keep the skill secret. It might draw unwanted attention. Reinrich warned him again. Level 9 alchemists were rare, and others might exploit such valuable skills. She gave him a potion task and 3 days' time. Itsuki cheerfully accepted the responsibility immediately, while walking home. Itsuki reflected on Reinrich's instructions. He acknowledged her sharpness and his personal growth. Thinking of his old job, Itsuki felt pride. Alchemy life suited him better than corporate duty. Just then, a girl dashed into him recklessly. He crashed backward, stunned by the unexpected impact. Itsuki collapsed backward after a sharp collision. Dizzy and aching, he groaned, stunned by the impact. As he opened his eyes, he realized his face was awkwardly pressed into a stranger's thigh. A girl sat dazed on top of him. She winced, rubbing her head in confusion. The girl called him Big Brother. Itsuki shouted in panic, begging her to get off immediately. She squirmed while blaming him for touching her. Their tangled position worsened, drawing looks from horrified bystanders nearby. Itsuki sat by the fountain, dazed. The girl apologized repeatedly, blaming gravity for the chaotic crash. She introduced herself warmly as Origol. Her bold charm stunned him, especially when she guessed he's a drifter. Origol casually revealed her grandfather was the town's lord. Itsuki struggled to process how wealthy she was. Panicked, Itsuki begged her not to mention the incident. She agreed but called him a little scary. Origol invited herself to join him. Ignoring protests, she declared it a date while trailing him happily. Standing on the overlook, Itsuki and Origol admired the peaceful town bustling with life and joy. Itsuki reflected on his old world, less smiles, more pressure. This world, though imperfect, felt welcoming. He acknowledged the hardships, but praised the warmth of people who laughed and lived close together. Moved by his words, Origol thanked him quietly. Her gaze softened as he shared his heart. With a bright smile, Origol ran off. Itsuki warned her again not to trip downhill. Yasus arrived by carriage, dismissing his escorts. Calm and collected, he prepared to meet the Lord. Announcing himself, Yasus was led into the Lord's grand estate to deliver his report personally. Yasus summarized the incident involving Rensh. While no rules were broken, public attention required some response. He urged fairness, but also leniency, hinting at Itsuki's uniqueness and requesting judgment matched the situation's nuance. The Lord agreed. Itsuki was odd but intriguing. Past ties with Yasus made things even clearer. When asked, Origol casually admitted she'd met Itsuki. Her expression turned thoughtful, maybe even intrigued. Relaxed in her chair, she smirked and confessed, Itsuki might be her type after all. Origol sat confidently, casually revealing her interest in Itsuki. Yasus responded with quiet concern and mild surprise. Yasus noted Origol's worsening condition. Despite her smile, her coughing exposed the seriousness of her health. Origol admitted political succession was failing. With Hayato and others struggling, she began transferring power reluctantly. Yasus pondered quietly. He wondered if that drifter, Itsuki, might succeed where others had clearly failed before Yasus advised restraint. He dismissed her hopes as premature, leaving Origol silently questioning his judgment and tone. Yasus quietly excused himself, leaving Origol behind. She watched him go, her thoughts weighed with uncertainty. Alone, Origol gazed through the window, quietly wishing she had more time to explore the city. Outside, laundry danced in the wind. Wendy and Renge hung sheets while chatting softly in the breeze. The strong wind stirred leaves around them. Renge reassured Wendy that helping with chores was no trouble. Renge confirmed Aina and Sorte were summoned by the master. He admired Wendy's beauty. Since Itsuki was busy, Wendy suggested lunch. Renge agreed, and they headed inside for a meal. At the table, Shiro quietly ate. Wendy asked gently, and Shiro replied it was tasty. Noticing Renge's hesitation, Wendy asked carefully. Renge blushed and insisted the food was good despite her silence. Suddenly flustered, Renge stood and apologized. She had never properly expressed regret for her actions before. Wendy apologized too, feeling guilty. Itsuki reassured her, though new to each other, her care was obvious. Renge confessed her guilt. She once tried to kill someone Wendy now deeply loved and served. Her voice trembling, Renge bowed low. With honest shame, she finally offered Wendy a heartfelt apology. Wendy gently acknowledged her. Itsuki had already forgiven her, so Wendy would accept and move forward. Smiling warmly, Wendy explained her forgiveness. Her love for Itsuki guided her to embrace peace and healing. Afterward, Wendy stepped aside. Renge agreed to bring food to Itsuki, though Shiro offered cautious warning. Wendy shared a quiet laugh, hiding concern. Itsuki worked tirelessly, often skipping meals without realizing it. Her thoughts lingered on him, his fatigue, his determination. She wished she could ease it somehow. She whispered the truth to herself again. She had fallen in love with her gentle master. Every confession, even silent ones, made her chest tighten. She feared the feelings would never reach. But it reminded her, he was kind to everyone. She wondered if she truly stood out. Wendy leaned close to Itsuki, remembering the warmth. He hadn't touched her since that silent night. Longing filled her chest. She needed certainty, needed proof. She reached out, hoping he'd respond sincerely. As he held her, Wendy closed her eyes. She wanted to feel truly loved, not forgotten. Later, sitting quietly, she felt ashamed. He cherished her deeply. Why did she still feel doubt? Shiro gently embraced her. Wendy's voice trembled. She admitted the truth. Her heart was the one aching. Shiro gently comforted Wendy's aching heart. Wendy admitted it quietly. Maybe, just maybe, the pain remained inside. Meanwhile, Itsuki searched through ancient tomes. The panacea's creation was vague, complicated, missing key instructions everywhere. He discovered a description of a miraculous cure, one capable of restoring lost things, body, heart, soul. Through experience circle, the potion formed in his palm. Light swirled, responding to his focused will. Itsuki studied the result carefully. The medicine worked, but the cost might shorten someone's life instead. Renge delivered lunch from Wendy. Itsuki sensed something off. He thanked her, but his mind drifted. He stared at the potion again. If others knew, would they fear him or seek him? Itsuki questioned the potion's origin. He doubted his ability, unsure if divine influence had guided him. Shiro peeked through the door, sensing Itsuki's tension. He remained quiet, not wanting to raise concern. Wendy greeted him warmly. He said little, choosing silence over truth. Something deeper stirred in his chest. Later, he thanked Wendy for lunch. Meanwhile, Renge and Shiro offered help, trying to ease the mood. Wendy avoided eye contact. She smiled gently, masking unease. She offered tea, hiding what she couldn't say. Wendy lowered her head. Her silence spoke more than words. Itsuki sensed a hidden burden inside her. They returned home quietly. Itsuki felt something odd in the air, an unsettled tension building within. Aina and Sorte entered, armor damaged. Their tired faces hinted at danger far beyond expectations. A warm bath brought them relief. Their expressions relaxed, muscles soothed, spirits recovering from harsh battlefields. Later, seated together, they explained. A guild request had gone wrong. Itsuki listened, growing silently concerned. The guild's request was clear capture a mutated Vorpal bunny that had escaped from its trader. The creature wasn't ordinary. It was smart, strategic, and could control wild beasts through unknown signals. Sorte recounted their failure. The bunny outpaced them easily. Itsuki teased her. She swore to get revenge. With determination, they reassembled the party. Renge rejoined Aina and Sorte, strengthening their chances in pursuit. Before they left, Itsuki waved. Shiro was suddenly drafted too. The team marched out, now complete. Shiro approached as Sorte requesting a child companion. She believed teamwork mattered more than brute strength alone. The group left for their mission, joking about dinner. Itsuki stayed behind, watching them disappear confidently. With the others gone, the house quieted. Itsuki and Wendy realized they'd be dining alone tonight. In the stillness, old memories resurfaced. Itsuki remembered how long it had been since just them. As Wendy turned slowly, tension grew. Itsuki felt uneasy, aware they were completely alone together again. Dinner began calmly. Itsuki tried to act normal, but Wendy's gaze made everything feel strangely personal. Later that night, Itsuki stood alone. The silence and moonlight made him unusually aware of Wendy. Memories of awkward moments flashed back. He reminded himself he's no longer a teenager, he must act mature. Flustered yet determined, Itsuki stepped inside. His heart raced, but he forced himself to respond confidently. Alone in the bath, Itsuki scrubbed thoroughly, repeating her words, "Do it properly this time." Itsuki dressed carefully, repeated properly, then brushed, rinsed, and psyched himself up with snacks. He reached her door and hesitated. Silence lingered as he prepared to knock with trembling fingers. Doubts crept in. Was Wendy ready too? His mind filled with imagined judgment and nervous chatter. Startled by Wendy's voice, he panicked. Denying strange thoughts, he tried to retreat with flustered steps. Wendy opened the door gently. Calmly, she invited him inside while he stammered, overwhelmed and confused. They sat in silence. The air was heavy, both unsure how to start this long-delayed moment. Wendy offered tea. Itsuki, overwhelmed by nerves and purpose, gently stopped her hand before she stood. With a serious voice, he called her name. His eyes held conviction, stronger than earlier hesitation. He grasped her hand, voice trembling. He asked if he could still keep their shared promise. She didn't speak. Her hand tightened around his, eyes soft, as the answer was quietly given. Wendy smiled gently, hands trembling. With closed eyes and calm breath, she whispered a quiet yes. Wendy stepped close. She spoke softly, giving her heart, asking to remain by his side forever. Before her words finished, Itsuki leaned in. Their lips met, sealing a bond years in waiting. Tears welled in her eyes as she held him close. Finally she spoke, "I love you." Itsuki waited silently as Wendy stepped closer. The moon hung above, watching their quiet distance shrink. The curtains swayed gently as he held her. She didn't resist. His warmth made her tremble slightly. As his lips neared, Wendy froze. Their hearts raced, unsure whether desire or nerves would speak louder. Fingers clutched fabric instinctively. Neither spoke, but something intimate passed between them, uncertain, restrained, yet undeniably mutual. Itsuki softly apologized. Wendy, flushed and breathless, said nothing, but her gaze lingered longer than before. Wendy placed her hand gently around his neck. Her whisper held warmth. She didn't want regret. Clothes were left behind, resting quietly. Outside, the night remained still, unaware of emotions unfolding within. Wendy stood before him without shame. Itsuki, seated and silent, absorbed her gesture with hesitant awe. She approached slowly, her eyes soft. Itsuki reached out, recognizing her trust. No words felt needed. They lay together, breath entwined. His hand paused, searching her gaze. She nodded, silent, certain, sincere. Under dim light, Wendy clung to him. Her breath quickened, emotions high, thoughts lost in warmth. They moved as one, uncertain yet unafraid. In that moment, silence said everything they couldn't voice. Between gasps and closeness, all hesitation faded. They held tighter, each motion filled with quiet vulnerability and trust. Whispers turned into names. Their connection grew, no longer rushed, but steady, bound by more than desire. She reached for his hand instinctively. He grasped it gently, anchoring her through a storm of feeling. The moon faded slowly as night surrendered. A hush covered the world outside their quiet chamber. Morning arrived with soft bird song. Sunlight slipped past curtains, casting gold against a once shadowed room. Itsuki stirred, eyelids heavy. Last night's warmth still lingered beside him. Real, calm, and deeply comforting. He rose in silence, glancing once back. Something in him felt changed, lighter, yet more certain. Wendy slept soundly, her smile unguarded. No word spoken, yet everything between them was understood. Itsuki brushed her hair back gently. A smile touched his face, contentment etched across sleepy eyes. Wendy stirred at his voice. Still resting, she opened her eyes and met his gaze softly. She greeted him with warmth, quiet and close. No need for explanations, just one simple, shared morning. Their lips met again, not with urgency but with peace. A new start sealed in silence. Elsewhere in the trees beyond, something moved. A rustle stirred the brush, quiet, fast, and watching. In another part of the forest, Sorte dashed wildly, chasing a thieving rabbit with wild fury. She yelled that she will get this time. The rabbit flipped midair, taunting her with a smirk. She lunged but missed. Again, her tail flicked sharply, brushing the dirt as she crouched in frustration. Panting, she growled. Her eyes flared, unshaken. She refused to be mocked twice in one hunt. Suddenly, a deep growl echoed behind. Sorte turned, face to fur, against a towering beast. No rabbit now. The beast's limb crashed forward. Sorte narrowly evaded, her body low and taut, senses locked in battle. Sorte shifted position with haste. Her eyes tracked movement as the beast flailed, injured but still enraged. The rabbit dashed through grass again, weaving underfoot. Reng stood ready nearby, anticipating the path forward. She held ground firmly. As the rabbit approached, she adjusted her stance, calculating its frantic trajectory. The rabbit lunged. Renga's hand caught the weapon mid-air. Its momentum halted with effortless, practiced precision. Renga's swing missed as the rabbit twisted mid-air. She spun to recover before it escaped. She steadied herself quickly, recognizing its speed, but adjusted her stance to redirect its escape route sharply. The rabbit launched upward, but its path crossed directly into a cliff where Aina was waiting. With a sudden strike, Aina's weapon intercepted mid-air. The rabbit cried out, tumbling toward capture. Aina landed cleanly. Dust settled as Reng and Sorte cheered, finally bringing down their elusive target. The team gathered post-hunt. With the request completed, relief and light teasing passed between the trio. Sorte inspected the captured beast. Its worn, patched body confused her. Something unnatural pulsed beneath the surface. The rabbit twitched strangely, laughing to itself. From the shadows, another presence stirred, alert and watching. Sorte froze, eyes wide. The beast leapt, its form twitching unnaturally, striking her squarely in the stomach. Before she could react, it bounded away. Silence followed. Sorte remained still, shock written across her face. Startled by a new surge of energy, the weakened rabbit was flung as Shiro arrived nearby. One rabbit let out a sharp cry. Its body surged with static, signaling something far greater. Elsewhere, Itsuki handled housework with ease. Wendy watched him from the stairs, curious but silently content. A knock interrupted. Two visitors entered, a young girl and an older butler. With unreadable expressions, they stood silently at the threshold. Whatever message they brought, it would surely change everything. After the chaos with Renge ended, Itsuki enjoyed peace, until Origal suddenly arrived unannounced. To explain her appearance, the story rewinds to a time before Itsuki inherited the estate. In a dungeon, a monstrous creature lunged forward, its mouth wide, ready to tear apart intruders. Hayato struck swiftly, slashing through the demon's torso before it could react or injure his companion. With focused eyes, Hayato tightened his grip, preparing for the next blow to finish the battle. After the battle, Hayato sheathed his blade and checked the others to ensure their safety. Letty responded with smiles, reporting no injuries as they regrouped deeper into the crumbling dungeon path. Chris seemed exhausted, prompting Hayato to call for a break and let the party rest briefly. Letty handed Hayato a drink while the group sat by their boiling pot, recovering near ancient ruins. They discussed Origal's declining health. Confirming the rare elixir lay hidden far within the dungeon's final chamber, Letty reflected on the assassination attempt, realizing Origal's status made her a target for enemies. Hayato calmly responded, acknowledging the motive, but insisted justice must be upheld for such underhanded acts. While walking, Letty brought up Itsuki, wondering aloud how Hayato's friend was doing outside the dungeon. Hayato, sipping tea, explained he couldn't contact Itsuki, but had promised to bring ore. As thanks, Letty admitted she didn't dislike Itsuki. While Hayato teased her about the magic bag she gifted, Letty was suddenly attacked by the hungry teammate, who mistook her cloak for food. She pulled up Letty's skirt in protest, demanding real food while ignoring everyone's reactions and decency. Emily and Chris warned them to quiet down, reminding everyone that monsters could hear their shouting. Chris reassured Hayato of her condition, while Letty scolded Mii for recklessness and inappropriate behavior again. With their break over, the party regrouped and resumed walking, pressing deeper into the ancient dungeon halls. They solemnly declared their next mission: rescue the feudal lord Origal, marking a new turn in their journey. Origal arrived with her butler Soma, requesting a sudden meeting with Itsuki for an urgent matter. Caught off guard by the visit, Itsuki struggled to compose himself and respond clearly to her. They sat for tea. Itsuki apologized nervously, while Origal laughed and told him to relax casually. She brushed off past troubles lightheartedly, unintentionally embarrassing him with phrasing. While Soma stood silent behind them, Origal reintroduced herself, explaining her halfling nature and maturity, while Soma formally confirmed their identities once again. Origol asked about the estate. Itsuki explained he inherited it and described its spacious, equipped interior. Intrigued by the bath, Origol casually requested access sometime, showing clear interest in relaxing amenities offered. As they chatted, Origol began coughing. Soma grew concerned while Itsuki praised his estate's special bath. Noticing her condition worsening, Itsuki discreetly asked Wendy to fetch something important to help Origol recover. Wendy returned with a rare potion. Soma accepted it cautiously, as Origol watched with weak curiosity. Origol hesitated but drank the potion. Soma reassured her, while Itsuki insisted the cost didn't matter. The effects were immediate. Origol's strength returned, and she softly thanked everyone while relaxing into her seat. Relieved, Itsuki asked the true reason behind her visit, shifting the conversation toward more serious matters. Origol revealed her purpose investigating Renge from Redline, referencing past incidents they were already familiar with. She explained her findings, compiled from local testimonies, guard statements, and a report from Yashisu for formal review. Origol acknowledged the circumstances, noting prior agreements and temperaments, while explaining her impartial but thoughtful investigative approach. She decided to overlook the incident, just this once, despite her usual adherence to strict professional conduct. Since no witnesses confirmed the event, Origol agreed to dismiss it. Itsuki expressed sincere gratitude. However, Origol swiftly changed tone, pointing sternly at Itsuki and calling out his frequent disruptive behavior. She vented her frustration, listing issues tied to him, while Itsuki weakly defended himself amid complaints. Soma politely requested that Itsuki avoid further incidents, for Origol's sake, and bowed in deep sincerity. Origol suddenly collapsed into coughing again. Soma steadied her while she resisted help, insisting she was fine. Struggling to speak, Origol apologized and explained she needed to leave due to worsening physical condition. She was quietly escorted out by carriage. Itsuki and Wendy watched with growing concern from the gate. Back inside, Itsuki admitted his concern, still uncertain about her health. Sorte cheerfully greeted their return home. The adventurer group returned proudly, reporting success. Each member stood confidently, showing signs of a tough mission. They presented their prize to Itsuki. Despite minor troubles, they claimed the task was handled smoothly. As they shared stories, a rabbit suddenly leapt from the bag, catching everyone off guard mid-conversation. The rabbit bounced wildly, lifting Wendy's skirt in the process, shocking both her and Itsuki instantly. Flustered, Wendy scolded Itsuki while trying to cover herself. He clumsily reached to stop the rabbit's escape. The rabbit unexpectedly wriggled into Wendy's skirt, causing confusion. Shiro quickly tried to retrieve it. Later, Origol lay weak in her bed at her mansion, barely able to speak. Two stewards discussed her worsening condition quietly. Origol had collapsed again and her strength kept fading. The older man confirmed the elixir from Lord Hayato had failed. Desperation slowly overtook his face. They revealed only spiritual medicine could cure her deadly curse. Origol's condition now approached a critical stage. Itsuki sat in silence, troubled by doubt. The cure-all had failed to help Origol's suffering. Opening the box, Itsuki found a strange dagger. He hoped it held the answer they needed. Itsuki washed his face, observing stubble, considering inventing a rotor trimmer to shave efficiently. He adjusted his tie with determination, silently preparing himself for whatever task lay ahead. Origol received a careful backwash from the maid, her thin body weak from illness. She requested her hair be styled, insisting she must look neat if opportunity suddenly arrived. While getting dressed, suddenly her maid quietly confessed to Origol her sincere love for Einshil. The maid reminded Origol how beloved she was for protecting the town and its people. Origol, weakened but composed, begged her maids to hold hope and stay strong until everything ends. Regaining resolve, Origol admitted her fear, but wanted to see her world's light once again. She opened the curtain, gazed outward, quietly affirming her duty to the town she loved. Origol, now prepared, received the Alchemy Guild messenger and allowed Itsuki to speak with urgency. Itsuki knocked, apologized nervously, then was warned not to visit again without a formal appointment. Led inside, Itsuki bowed respectfully. Origol, seated regally, asked the reason for his sudden visit. Origol smiled gently at his humility. Itsuki apologized, but she urged him not to be stiff. With calm resolve, Itsuki stepped forward and revealed he had something important to deliver to her. As others watched curiously, he held out a glowing vial called a powerful miracle drug. The butlers were shocked. Itsuki dodged questions about the drug's source, avoiding a direct answer. Itsuki confronted Origol, hinting her affliction wasn't just illness, but something deeper and more unnatural. Soma revealed the truth. Origol's condition wasn't sickness, but a powerful and dangerous magical curse. The butler's betrayal was explained. He was manipulated by Dardaril, the man behind the assassination plot. Origol explained Dardaril's motive: political advancement, not loyalty. He sought power through her downfall and replacement. Origol noted Hayato failed the task. Itsuki acknowledged it, regretting his harsh judgment toward Hayato. Itsuki stepped forward, offering the miracle drug. He believed it was enough to save Origol. Origol accepted the vial with trembling hands, overwhelmed with emotion, and whispered a grateful thank you. The attendants bowed deeply, thanking Itsuki and pleading to compensate him properly for the miracle. Origol understood what repayment meant. Itsuki paused, unsure what to ask for in return. Itsuki offered a humble proposal: make the town peaceful and livable as repayment for everything. Origol agreed with a calm smile, her eyes warm with trust. She accepted his terms. Later, Itsuki strolled through town. Spotting something unusual by the gate, he turned with curiosity. He approached the gate, where guards argued with someone. Itsuki asked calmly if something was wrong. The guard recognized him with surprise. Itsuki found Sorte and others already waiting and scolded their delay. Itsuki reassured the girls he was fine. They rushed out, clearly worried for his safety. To ease tension, Itsuki invited everyone for a drink, treating them to lift the mood. They walked together under the sky, laughing. Peace returned, and their bond quietly deepened again. Itsuki enjoys calm skies and tea, reflecting on peaceful days after delivering the miracle drug. Smiling softly, Itsuki sips Wendy's tea, appreciating its warmth and how it eases his spirit. Reinrich and Yasis arrive, intrigued by the tea and questioning Itsuki about his recent absence. Darwin bluntly comments on Renge's enslavement, teasing Itsuki for acquiring another woman into his household. Surrounded by loud guests, Itsuki regrets their presence, longing again for undisturbed, peaceful tea time. Itsuki grows suspicious, wondering if another assassination plot is brewing among these powerful guests. Though uneasy, he sips his tea while the guests admire his house's impressive features. Darwin praises the luxurious bath and alchemy lab. Reinrich confirms their high-level magical equipment origins. Meira, Darwin's daughter, points out the alchemy room's profit potential, amusing Itsuki with business talk. Despite her charm, Itsuki hesitates. Darwin's foster daughter, eccentric brother, trouble he'd rather avoid entirely. Darwin suddenly demands answers, pressing Itsuki about the origin of the so-called miracle drug. Everyone's gaze sharpens. Reinrich and Yasis fall silent. Itsuki struggles to find a proper explanation. Itsuki nervously laughs, claiming the goddess granted him the drug upon entering this new world. Accepting the story for now, Darwin shifts tone, demanding to see Itsuki's personal guild card. Itsuki hesitates, resisting the request. He's clearly nervous about revealing what's written on the card. Darwin reads Itsuki's guild card aloud, shocked to discover rare skills like spatial magic and more. Itsuki nervously explains the pocket money skill, earning one large payout daily. Everyone reacts with disbelief. Reinrich doubts Itsuki's innocence, suspecting deeper secrets behind the miracle drug and experience-related abilities. Just as Darwin presses again, Origol barges in, instantly shifting attention away from Itsuki's lie. Everyone gathers again as Origol casually explains her return, diffusing suspicion with her energetic presence. Origol surprises everyone by sitting on Itsuki's lap, cheerfully calling him Big Brother without hesitation. Itsuki awkwardly denies intimacy, but Origol clings on. Reinrich mocks her childish act at 40+. Origol explains she's a legal halfling, eternally youthful thanks to elven lineage. Meira watches silently, confused. Origol insists on bathing together, reminding Itsuki of a promise he clearly doesn't remember making. Darwin excuses himself from questioning, suggesting a private celebration later, though not without suspicious glances and teasing. Origol energetically pumps her fist, excitedly declaring it's time to head straight to the bath. Itsuki nervously escorts Origol and Meira, unsure about her recovery despite her cheerful, clingy enthusiasm. In a carefree mood, Origol undresses while singing, confidently preparing to enter the relaxing bath. Itsuki watches in shock as Origol runs in naked, questioning if she's truly in her 40s. Suddenly, Meira appears in revealing lingerie, casually stating she's joining, leaving Itsuki utterly panicked and flustered. Itsuki sits in the bath with both girls, overwhelmed by the absurdly intimate situation forming. Origol praises the bath's quality. Itsuki deflects credit to Meira, who smiles with quiet satisfaction. Origol reveals her long history with the group, reminiscing about chasing Darwin and Yasis around. She suddenly asks about Wendy and the Red Line girls, curious who Itsuki loves most. Meira boldly interrupts, warning she won't ignore talk of other women in front of her. Cornered in the bath, Itsuki panics as both girls demand a romantic decision immediately. Origal and Meira stayed overnight, chatting endlessly beside Itsuki, preventing any proper sleep or rest. Tired and uninterested in joining the mood, he quietly excused himself, while Wendy peeked with concerned expression. Wendy sat alone, silently convincing herself their presence was normal, even if it pained her. She clenched her fists, struggling to accept her feelings, repeating that everything was perfectly fine. Itsuki returned to request tea, sensing her unease, giving her an excuse to feel needed. Wendy brewed tea alone, reflecting on her flustered reaction and quietly feeling ashamed of herself. Sorte and Shiro noticed her distant behavior and questioned if something happened the night before. They suggested Wendy felt jealous about the guests, but Itsuki denied any romantic involvement with them. Sorte proposed apologizing just in case, while he panicked, unsure what to do or say. Desperate to fix things, Itsuki ran off shouting he'd apologize, startling everyone with his intensity. Aina approached Wendy, sensing unease, but Wendy deflected the concern with vague words and hesitation. After a moment of silent thought, Aina decided on a cheerful and unusual approach instead. She grabbed Wendy's hands and suggested a shared bath, surprising her with such sudden friendliness. Wendy hesitated briefly, then followed, puzzled by the unexpected offer and Aina's oddly warm energy. While washing her back, Aina comforted Wendy, gently easing her feelings without saying too much. Wendy asked why they bathed together. Aina simply smiled and offered to help rinse. Aina praised Wendy's beauty and apologized gently, offering to listen if anything troubled her heart. Wendy responded with gratitude, touched by Aina's sincerity, and softened slightly in the warm moment. Aina admitted her limitations, and Wendy reassured her, dismissing her own feelings as selfishness. Aina smiled knowingly, realizing Wendy's emotions were deeper, her affections for their master clearly genuine and strong. Wendy openly confessed her feelings for Itsuki, while Aina reflected on his mysterious nature. They both admired his reliability, kindness, and warmth, qualities neither of them had seen before. Aina admitted her feelings were different, less romantic, more about wanting to support and protect him. They acknowledged Itsuki's charm and kindness, but agreed he'd never willingly hurt Wendy's feelings. Wendy quietly offered to cook for Aina, moved by her support and gentle understanding. After their talk, Wendy and Aina shared a laugh, leaving their tension completely behind. That evening, Rengjie and Sorte noticed Wendy's brightened mood, speculating quietly about her deepened bond with Aina. Itsuki lay on his bed, exhausted, still regretting that he hadn't apologized to Wendy. Aina knocked on his door unexpectedly, asking for a moment to speak with him. Surprised by the visit, Itsuki got up, uncertain why Aina approached him so late. Wendy and Aina appeared together in nightwear, catching Itsuki completely off guard and speechless. Aina insisted their disagreement should be resolved intimately, while Wendy awkwardly tried to downplay the situation. Wendy tried to leave embarrassed, but Aina urged them to reconcile openly while she spectated. Aina later returned flustered and ashamed, leaving Sorte confused about what exactly had happened. Itsuki and the others awaken early as Sorte urgently calls everyone to the mansion's main hall. Declaring a crisis, Sorte announces the household's public morals have collapsed and demands immediate correction. Itsuki is confused by her sudden concern, unsure what prompted her dramatic moral campaign today. Sorte suspects Aina saw something indecent. Furious, she blames Itsuki and attacks without hesitation. Sorte enforces new rules dressed as a moral officer, declaring herself wolf, not dog, of righteousness. Itsuki defends his feelings, firmly embracing Wendy, refusing to deny his attraction despite Sorte's objections. Sorte explodes with frustration and tries to flee, but Reng stops her from running away. Later, Itsuki drinks calmly, trying to ignore the commotion, while Wendy reflects on the situation. Wendy realizes Sorte's anger stems from last night's events and decides to go apologize. Itsuki regrets his harsh words, gently knocking on Sorte's door hoping to make amends. Sorte angrily denies anyone's presence, but Itsuki gently interrupts, apologizing for going too far yesterday. Flustered, Sorte demands sincerity. Itsuki repeats his apology. Renji appears, checking how Aina is doing. Aina panics at the mention of slave, declares retreat and dashes away down the hallway. Crying, Sorte blames Itsuki, calling him trash for upsetting Aina with careless emotional behavior. Despite tears, Sorte orders him to apologize properly, her sternness hiding concern beneath trembling resolve. Renji greets Itsuki warmly and says she has an important personal request to make. She explains her body aches from soft beds she's used to hard floors and discomfort. Itsuki offers a massage without hesitation. Renji lies down, exposing her back for treatment. Sorte grows suspicious. Itsuki insists he's skilled, recalling past experience massaging tired shoulders during training. Renji blushes at the intense pressure. Itsuki's massage quickly escalates into an overly stimulating experience. Renji moans unintentionally, overwhelmed by the massage, while Itsuki insists it's purely therapeutic and harmless. Seeing Sorte hesitate, Itsuki lifts her confidently, insisting she doesn't need to hold back anymore. Sorte protests loudly, but Itsuki begins the massage anyway, trying to locate any lingering muscle tension. Her body twitches under his touch. Itsuki calmly adjusts her leg, diagnosing stiffness through careful pressure. Despite embarrassment, Sorte begins to relax. Itsuki asks for feedback, still focused on easing her soreness. Sorte trembles, confused by the massage's unexpected effect heating her from within. She flails in flustered panic, overwhelmed. Itsuki stares wide-eyed, realizing the situation escalated unintentionally. Reflecting on past exhaustion, Itsuki recalls how only puppy videos helped him survive work stress. Now face-to-face with a fluffy tail, he's tempted to finally indulge his long-held wish. Caught up in instinct, Itsuki grabs her tail. Sorte jolts, reacting intensely to the sensation. Sorte cries out embarrassment as her sensitive tail is repeatedly fluffed without warning or restraint. Despite her protests, Itsuki continues. Sorte begs him to stop, unable to control her reactions. Overwhelmed, Sorte pleads tearfully, but Itsuki insists on helping, his reasoning lost in the moment. As Sorte howls from sensory overload, her body quivers. Itsuki finally realizes the situation turned chaotic. Later, Itsuki sheepishly explains himself. The others are suspicious as Sorte behaves oddly after the incident. Itsuki receives a new potion delivery task from the Alchemist Guild after a successful request. Heinrich reflects on old age, reminiscing about lost acquaintances and appreciating lingering companionship in silence. Itsuki realizes that Heinrich is softening as she gets older, while Shiro helps the chef cook. Heinrich hides emotion behind gruffness. The chef hands sweets. Shiro exits cheerfully, dodging lingering sentiment. Itsuki asks Shiro about lunch. She loudly demands meat as a cloaked stranger watches quietly. Itsuki teases Shiro about meat, warns her about veggies. A thief approaches silently from behind. The thief lunges. Shiro intercepts mid-strike and knocks him down in one swift, decisive blow. Feigning pain, the thief deceives them. Itsuki and Shiro hesitate, confused by the sudden change. The thief throws Itsuki's stolen magic bag, calling it payment, masking escape with slate and taunt. Smoke explodes around them. Shiro reassures Itsuki, then launches skyward to retrieve the stolen item. The thief flees through the alleys, gloating about robbing a rich, well-known local alchemist. Thinking he's won, the thief celebrates his escape, unaware Shiro is airborne and closing in. Shiro lands before him, calmly demanding the return of Itsuki's treasured magical bag. Cornered, the thief draws a knife, shouting threats, trying to scare Shiro into backing off. Unshaken, Shiro leaps directly at him, disarming and tackling with a fierce, focused expression. Shiro locks the thief's blade in a firm grip, calmly repeating her demand for return. Overwhelmed and cornered, the thief panics and agrees to return everything without further resistance. Shiro surprises him with a small gift, offering kindness despite his attempt to rob them. Touched and confused, the thief unwraps it, bitterly calling it foolish, but visibly affected by gesture. With crowd noise growing, Shiro looks around, realizing she's lost sight of Itsuki in the city. Shiro is approached by Mera, recognizing her from Itsuki's household, and questions her presence. Shiro ends up inside Yasusa's brothel, drawing attention and confusion from the working girls. The girls wonder why Shiro's wearing their outfit. Someone explains Mera brought her in lost. Shiro bows deeply, sincerely apologizing for the chaos she caused on her previous visit. Inside, the madam thanks Mera. The girls gush over Shiro's cuteness and discuss giving her a makeover. Mera explains she's already called Shiro's master and requests to wait together peacefully. While dressing Shiro, the women question her age and taste, prompting scholarly judgment from another girl. Itsuki arrives and awkwardly scolds the brothel girls, asking them to stop clinging to Shiro. Days later, in heavy rain, 2 cloaked visitors arrive and knock on Itsuki's door. Inside, Shiro naps. Wendy alerts Itsuki, unaware that the guests outside bring unexpected tension. As the rain pours, the cloaked figures are revealed. It's Hayato and Letty, standing solemnly at the door. Wendy welcomed Hayato and Letty inside, offering to dry their cloaks from the rain. They entered the mansion. Hayato learned it belonged to Itsuki, who now hosted them warmly. Wendy served tea as Hayato apologized for arriving unannounced. Letty remained cautiously observant of everything over tea. Hayato caught up with Itsuki, recalling the hero's peaceful life and steady contributions. Hayato finally revealed his purpose to thank and apologize for past misunderstandings with sincerity. Letty revealed their original mission was retrieving dungeon elixir, linked to the Lord's sudden illness. Hayato admitted their failure. Letty acknowledged the elixir's importance, understanding how it burdened Itsuki deeply. Itsuki casually dismissed it, explaining he never urgently needed the elixir, easing their growing guilt. Hayato recalled how danger escalated. The party halted the quest due to unforeseen overwhelming conditions. In the dungeon's depths, monster numbers surged. The environment grew unstable, forcing their immediate retreat. Inside the dungeon, Hayato warned everyone to stay close. Letty checked on an exhausted Chris. Chris insisted she was fine, but Letty requested a break, concerned for her condition. Hayato agreed to rest. Chris apologized softly, weighed down by guilt and her physical weakness. While others checked supplies, Chris sat alone. Pressure built, knowing resources were dwindling fast. Haunted by past abuse, Chris recalled harsh words. Feelings of uselessness overwhelmed her completely. Letty called out to Chris gently. Chris heard her, but self-doubt screamed louder inside. Chris stood shakily, responded faintly. Her hand touched the wall, then something mechanical clicked ominously. A stone trap activated violently. Letty screamed, but it was already too late to stop. A sudden spike shot toward Chris. Her wide eyes froze, fear eclipsed all possible reaction. Back at the table, Hayato confessed. He blamed himself entirely for what happened during that mission. Itsuki asked about Chris's condition. Letty clarified she was nearby, and Hayato wasn't at fault. Hayato explained Chris lost her right eye. Standard potions couldn't restore such a delicate organ. Determined to help, Hayato planned to buy the elixir at a secret capital auction. Itsuki realized Hayato wanted to save Chris himself, because she was someone truly important to him. With the rain gone, Hayato and Letty took their leave, resolved, with hope quietly rekindled. Itsuki offered emotional support. Though younger in status, he offered guidance as a life senior. Hayato smiled gratefully. Encouraged by Itsuki's sincerity, he suggested they attend the auction together. Surprised, Itsuki realized he'd never left town. He hesitated at first but remained open-minded. The decision was made. They would depart in 3 days once travel preparations were complete. Itsuki predicted Wendy and Shiro would join them. The group's journey to the capital began. Letty stopped Hayato, hesitating. She had something on her mind but struggled to express it. Flustered, Letty refused to explain. Itsuki teased her lightly, suspecting romantic tension and personal hesitation. Itsuki jokingly implied Letty's feelings. Hayato stood silent. Letty grew embarrassed by the misunderstanding. Letty scolded them both for being insensitive, clearly uncomfortable with personal questions about affection. Meanwhile, the teammate noticed Chris skipping meals again. Concerned, she gently called out to check on her. Chris sat alone in silence, knees drawn close, struggling with pain, shame, and growing despair. Mi entered quietly, looking down. Emily paused her reading, noticing something wrong with her demeanor. Chris hadn't eaten. Emily hugged her tightly, realizing sadness weighed heavier than her recent injury. Hayato and Letty returned, surprised by the scene. Emily calmly explained Chris wasn't doing well. Emily spoke up nervously. Hayato understood immediately and stepped forward, offering to personally check on Chris. Hayato approached the door in silence, preparing himself emotionally before confronting Chris's quiet, painful struggle. Hayato stood outside Chris's room, repeating heartfelt apologies as guilt welled silently within his chest. Inside, Chris sat curled up, whispering apologies to no one, drowning in loneliness and regret. The next morning, the group gathered around the table, quietly hoping for Chris's recovery and peace. Letty proposed a solution. Hayato hesitated. Emily remained quiet, but her expression showed cautious agreement. Letty reminded them of Itsuki, his offer to help when needed. Hayato considered the possibility seriously. Emily reminded Hayato to stop carrying everything alone. He finally agreed to ask Itsuki's help. Itsuki responded immediately with kindness, inviting everyone to his house and offering full support without hesitation. Itsuki explained the situation to Wendy, who responded warmly, offering to help without hesitation or question. Wendy accepted with a gentle smile, ready to assist however she could in this matter. That night, the group arrived at Itsuki's home, warmly welcomed and grateful for the support. Together they stood before Itsuki, asking sincerely for help. Chris remained quiet, still emotionally distant. Wendy sensed Chris's discomfort and glanced gently at her. Itsuki noted the complex emotional tension silently. Emily and Wendy had history. Emily warned Itsuki seriously. Wendy's feelings were not to be taken lightly. During dinner, Itsuki announced their journey plans. The group relaxed slightly, enjoying his warm hospitality together. While Mi devoured everything with joy, Letty blushed quietly, surprised by how delicious the food was. Itsuki offered the bath. Letty hesitated, but the girls were intrigued by his confidence. Itsuki explained the bath's origin proudly. It was crafted to resemble one from Mara's homeland. Mi dragged Letty with excitement. Emily agreed and Letty finally gave in, flustered but willing. Wendy pulled Chris aside gently. Meanwhile, Itsuki teased Hayato about joining, earning scolding glares from everyone. Chris helped prepare towels silently. She declined praise, still emotionally distant but trying to contribute. Chris quietly responded. The food was delicious, showing rare appreciation despite her withdrawn, delicate mood. Wendy expressed interest in Chris's cooking. Chris, surprised and doubtful, hesitated to accept the unexpected praise. Chris finally admitted her true feelings. She was planning to leave Hayato's party entirely. Believing her injury slowed them down, Chris felt ashamed for hindering their important quest. With emotion breaking through, Chris cried out, convinced she didn't belong with the group anymore. Wendy asked Chris directly, was leaving truly what her heart wanted, or just her fear? Chris trembled with conflict. Letty arrived silently, calling her name with quiet strength and concern. Everyone reassured Chris, without her, they'd struggle. Her presence, especially her meals, mattered more than she realized. Hayato spoke from the heart. Chris had helped them so often he wanted her to stay. Later, Itsuki thanked Wendy privately. She simply smiled, content knowing her words had reached Chris. Letty gently helps Chris bathe, reminding her to rely more on others while healing. Chris winces slightly at the water, but Letty reassures her with soft, careful movements. Letty makes a sweet request for Chris's soup, drawing a heartfelt, quiet thanks in response. Chris smiles warmly, feeling appreciated for her cooking, and agrees to Letty's request without hesitation. Joined by others, they relax deeply into the hot bath, sharing warmth, peace, and quiet joy. Itsuki proudly presents a set of enchanted rings, offering protection, resistance, and magic enhancements. He explains their power increases with intimacy. Bonded pairs grow stronger the closer they become emotionally. Hayato admires the craftsmanship, surprised by its power, as Itsuki jokingly hints at wedding symbolism. Despite teasing, Itsuki earnestly offers them as gifts, brushing off Hayato's discomfort and apologetic tone. They walk together. Itsuki downplays it as gratitude, subtly hinting at deeper thoughts behind the gesture. Sorte rushes in angrily, catching Itsuki off guard with a loud, emotional demand for answers. Itsuki calmly asks about her red face. Itsuki faces her chaotic explosion of complaints. The girls swarm in, panicked by the sudden news. Sorte pushes close, demanding to go too. She tackles Hayato in frustration, yelling they can't possibly prepare on such short notice. With tempers flaring, Sorte snaps, questioning Itsuki's selfishness. Then Sorte asked Hayato's identity. Hayato introduces himself formally to the group, revealing his identity as the Dragon Slayer hero. The Red Line members respond warmly, introducing themselves while teasingly vying for Hayato's attention and respect. They praise Hayato's accomplishments, but Sorte playfully complains about his sudden plans and lack of communication. Hayato apologizes while Sorte demands appreciation, pointing out his usual lack of gratitude and awareness. Refusing to be left behind, Sorte dramatically insists she won't stay home while others adventure. Aina and Renja agree to join the trip, ignoring logistics while Itsuki worries about their readiness. To their surprise, Itsuki reveals he's already planned everything: travel, lodging, and even their underwear. Sorte explodes in disbelief at Itsuki's knowledge of their sizes, calling him scary and shameless. Hayato apologizes to everyone, acknowledging the trouble caused by his plans and their unexpected consequences. Sorte accepts the apology warmly, noting that being bossed around by their master is nothing new. Hayato asks the girls to look after Itsuki, calling him a friend worth protecting too. The girls confidently respond, declaring it obvious. Sorte leads with her usual dramatic, heartfelt energy. Shiro surprises Sorte by joining in, promising to protect their beloved master with full devotion. Suddenly, Emily and Letty sneaks up behind Hayato, softly whispering his name with eerie enthusiasm. Back in the bath area, the girls are dizzy. Hayato and others scramble to manage chaos. The night ends quietly, a calm sky watching over the house after an eventful day. At dawn, Itsuki waves goodbye from the carriage, his thoughts steady and his heart ready. With a smile, he announces their departure. Next stop, the imperial capital and everything beyond. Itsuki greeted everyone cheerfully, explaining the weather was ideal for their trip to the capital. The girls stood with open guides, listening quietly as Itsuki outlined travel rules and precautions. Despite his cheerful farewell, Sorte and Renge felt exhausted just from reading the complicated preparation handbook. Aina explained that trip planning was a ritual in Itsuki's world, and he enjoyed it. Sorte stepped forward curiously, asking if their newly tailored travel outfits were really part of preparations. Aina and Renge expressed concern, surprised by the high quality of everything Itsuki provided. Itsuki confidently reassured them, declaring he'd never embarrass his companions as their dependable group leader. Sorte admired him instantly, but suddenly she warned against his reckless habit of guessing clothing sizes. Wendy appeared in a special outfit, revealing it was a meaningful gift from their first meeting. Sorte looked smug as Wendy turned away shyly, while Itsuki scratched his head, visibly flustered. Excited to begin, Shiro leapt onto Itsuki's back, urging him to move faster immediately. The group departed the estate in a sturdy horse carriage, with Itsuki confidently leading the reins. Everyone settled inside, cheerful faces and casual chatter filled the air as the trip began peacefully. Their carriage rolled past large city walls, approaching the main gate that marked their journey's start. Hayato and Letty greeted them warmly at the gate, waving them through with smiles and respectful nods. The carriages moved steadily along the wide road, surrounded by quiet hills and distant trees. Itsuki began to feel sore from riding, rubbing his back while trying to stay composed. Hayato estimated 2 days to reach the capital, just as something odd caught his attention. A strange round creature chirped beside Itsuki's foot, drawing curious stares from everyone nearby. The girls immediately mistook it for a threat, drawing weapons as it let out a scream. Startled by the harmless creature, Itsuki clung to Hayato, trembling as the group watched awkwardly. The creature flipped over playfully, revealing its harmless nature, just a young caterpillar child, not dangerous. Shiro gently held it up, reassuring Itsuki, but he screamed and demanded it be removed. Nearby girls rushed over, confused by the fuss, having assumed something serious or dangerous occurred. Itsuki clung tighter to Hayato, unable to handle insects, as the others sighed in resignation. The sun began to set over the lake as carriage wheels rolled quietly through rugged terrain. Hayato suggested stopping for camp before darkness, and Itsuki agreed, bringing the carriages to rest. The group dismounted and stretched, preparing gear and supplies as night slowly crept over the forest. Itsuki and Hayato fetched water from a quiet stream buckets, ready while Aina gave instructions. Chatting beside the river, Itsuki admitted camping experience came from anime, but he genuinely enjoyed it. While gathering water, Itsuki spotted a unicorn near a waterfall and stared at it, amazed. The unicorn revealed a disturbing face wiggling strangely, causing Hayato to stay silent while Itsuki panicked. Hayato casually described a horrifying horse moth species, making Itsuki beg him to stop immediately in fear. Realizing the unicorn stood upright and stared intensely, both decided to walk back carefully, buckets still full. Meanwhile, the girls triumphantly returned with meat for dinner, unaware of the weird unicorn encounter. Wendy's stew delighted everyone. Chris complimented her cooking, and she offered to share the recipe. The group gathered near the tents, eating, drinking, and laughing, while enjoying the peaceful evening air. Aina and Emily played music while others relaxed under the moon, sharing warm conversation. Later, Itsuki sat alone watching the stars. The others slept soundly nearby, resting after dinner. Wendy joined him quietly and offered her company, promising to stay by his side always. Sorte and Renge discussed how their indoor bath spoiled them from bathing outdoors anymore. They joined the others in the river, but a silent thought lingered in Sorte's eyes. Renge and Aina smiled warmly, while a tired Sorte seemed ready to fall asleep. More girls arrived, cheerful and radiant, casually joining the refreshing outdoor bath without hesitation. Sorte quietly observed everyone's comfort and beauty, overwhelmed by how splendid they all truly were. Letty hesitated at the forest's edge, uncomfortable joining the others in the outdoor bath. Sorte surprised her with a gentle pat, while the men, reassured from afar without watching morning, arrived calmly. Itsuki greeted everyone as they returned to camp, preparing breakfast beside Hayato. A feast was ready. The girls gathered, their sleepy eyes lighting up at the delicious spread. As everyone praised the cooking, Letty stayed quiet but began to feel a little more welcome. Wendy apologized for not helping, but Itsuki assured her cooking again felt truly enjoyable. Everyone agreed this morning's meal was special, far more filling than their usual quiet breakfast. As the meal wrapped up, Itsuki cheerfully reminded them there was still dessert remaining. He proudly revealed an ice cream scoop, drawing curious looks as he served a portion. With a grin, Itsuki confirmed the final treat was real, creamy ice cream. Hayato marveled at the ice cream's look and smell. Overwhelmed by its nostalgic familiarity, he gently lifted the spoon, took a bite, and began to savor the chilled sweetness. His expression brightened with joy. It was unmistakably real vanilla ice cream, and it amazed him. Itsuki explained the dessert was preserved using spatial magic, which allowed perfect environmental control and storage. Hayato smiled softly, recalling his world's desserts. Ice cream brought memories no lump of sugar could. The group marveled at the vanilla flavor. Letty was stunned, overwhelmed by the unexpected delight. Even Emily, unfamiliar with vanilla, enjoyed the dessert's cooling and creamy texture deeply. Suddenly, Aina drew her blade and called Sorte and Rangja protect the supply wagon. Growling enemies approached fast. Sorte prepared her stance beside the cart as chaos erupted. Aina leapt into action with a fierce swing, intercepting the beast lunging toward their flank. Aina's blade cut through the charging beasts with precision, holding her ground without hesitation. Multiple enemies rushed in, but Sorte blocked the path with firm footing and steeled resolve. With a fierce cry, she spun into motion, hurling her body straight into combat range. Sorte leapt high, striking down with her spear before the monsters could react or regroup. One enemy collapsed instantly. Sorte flipped midair, never breaking her form or the fight's rhythm. Renge dove forward with crushing force, her punch landing squarely into the monster's open jaw. With casual strength, Renge downed another beast, impressing Itsuki with a display both brutal and calm. Together, Aina, Sorte, and Renge formed a powerful frontline. Itsuki finally witnessed their full combat resolve. Even knowing monsters were common, seeing them up close still startled Itsuki beyond his expectations. A monster crept behind him. Turning in panic, Itsuki instinctively lashed out, fearing for his life. Itsuki's spell activated just in time, trapping the beast inside a shimmering invisible magical cage. The creature was brutally crushed midair. Itsuki stood stunned, unsettled by the result of his power. Shiro checked on him gently. Though shaken, he nodded, hiding his unease behind a tired reply. Laughing it off, Itsuki excused himself from future battles. Despite earlier claims about wanting to improve, the danger passed. Compliments were shared, and Redline's strength was once again proven undeniable. With battles behind them, the group packed up their camp and resumed their journey together peacefully. They arrived at their destination, Rashiayu, the royal capital, where new encounters surely awaited their slow life. The group's carriage entered the towering gates of Rashiu, the royal capital, after long travel. He observed the elegant women and refined streets, noting Rashiu's charm differed from Einshield's bustle. Embarrassed, Itsuki quickly corrected himself, sensing Wendy's glare after admiring the local lady's appearance. Still, surrounded by strong, beautiful allies like Wendy and Aina, he couldn't afford to be shaken. Resolving quietly, Itsuki stepped off the carriage, leaving thoughts behind as duties in the capital began. Hayato returned to the capital, welcomed by cheering citizens and loyal servants with admiration and joy. As excitement grew, he asked the guards to announce his return to the mansion officially. A nervous rookie guard stepped forward, requesting Hayato's blessing for his sword with deep, trembling respect. Though unsure of its effect, Hayato agreed to bless it, keeping his tone modest and kind. His popularity amazed the group. Proposals flooded him constantly for alliances, admiration, or even bearing his child. The group halted mid-step, eyes wide open, stunned by the sheer size before them. Before them stood a luxurious estate, towering with grandeur, 4 times larger than Itsuki's own mansion. Tension rose with awkward comparisons, prompting clumsy humor that only deepened the silence between the wolfmen. Hayato opened the mansion doors with a smile, warmly inviting everyone to settle in comfortably. A line of elegant maids greeted the party with perfect poise, honoring Hayato and his guests. A powerful voice echoed from the hall. Itsuki turned, startled by formal, synchronized greetings. A towering butler introduced himself as Fried, calm and composed, radiating strength behind perfect manners. Itsuki stiffened in surprise as he faced Fried's immense figure, unable to hide his reaction. Hayato explained Fried's origins, half human, half giant. Fried apologized, anticipating discomfort caused by his unusual heritage. Itsuki lit up with admiration, declaring Fried's size and role incredibly cool, impressing everyone nearby. Fried quietly smiled, touched that Itsuki repeated Hayato's words without realizing how similar they sounded. With refined grace, Fried pledged excellent service and led Itsuki toward his elegantly prepared quarters. Itsuki admired the room's refined decor, modestly impressed by the clear difference in quality. Fried offered them 3 rooms and suggested drawing lots fairness would decide room assignments. Room assignments sparked chaos. Everyone pleaded for swaps, arguing over who should sleep near their master. Hayato departed for the castle by royal summons. Itsuki remained, overseeing the mansion's tensions. Chris stayed behind, focused on learning ice cream making from Itsuki, rather than joining the journey. Fried praised Itsuki's alchemical lineage, impressed he studied under the legendary and eccentric Heinrich. Recognizing Heinrich's fame, Fried suggested visiting the capital's cathedral. Everyone agreed to join the outing. Itsuki watched from the window as Fried drove the carriage through the quiet stone streets. The vibrant city atmosphere stirred nostalgia in Itsuki, who once only traveled for business. After a smooth ride, Fried announced their arrival. Itsuki thanked him with quiet appreciation. Everyone looked up in awe. The cathedral's grand structure towered beneath a bright sky. Itsuki admitted seeing it online, but real-world beauty surpassed anything he imagined from Earth. Fried stayed with the carriage while the group thanked him and entered the majestic cathedral. A cheerful nun greeted them warmly and requested a donation of 1,000 Nol per person. After collecting coins, the nun smiled playfully and offered to guide them through the cathedral. The group followed her through the echoing halls, intrigued by her charm and strange energy. She led them to a chapel room, announcing it with a gentle yet proud gesture. Inside stood a radiant stained glass window, the cathedral's most revered and iconic display of artistry. Itsuki froze as he recognized the goddess. Identical to the stained glass image before him, Itsuki stood before the radiant goddess statue, silently reflecting on the new world's divine mystery. Surrounded by supportive companions, Itsuki absorbed their words while quietly observing the temple's peaceful golden light. Unexpected tears streamed down his face. Emotion overwhelmed him before he even understood the reason. Confused, he touched his cheek, struggling to explain, the warmth spilling from his eyes again. The girls gathered around him, sensing something meaningful stirred deeply within him, though he said nothing. Inside the temple, a nun observes quietly while Itsuki discusses errands with the priestess beside him. Itsuki sits before the goddess's image again. Shiro watches, curious about his emotional reaction. The nun suddenly approaches and interprets his stillness as a sign of devout spiritual connection. With a smug grin, the nun praises his faith, while Itsuki grows visibly confused and wary. Urged to pray without warning, Itsuki hesitantly obeys, unsure whether to trust or resist her energy. Light beams pierced the altar as the goddess's image glowed. The nun gasped in awe. A calm priestess explained divine energy's significance. Those blessed enough could undergo the rare goddess baptism. The nun exaggerated benefits, claiming healing magic was possible. Itsuki briefly believed her, then felt deceived. She encouraged daily prayer to raise divine power. Itsuki naively agreed, still processing her odd mood. The nun quickly teased his enthusiasm, hinting that consistent prayer might be harder than he thought. The nun slyly requested a donation. Itsuki ignored her and walked off with Shiro instead. Panicking, the nun chased them, claiming divine energy was vanishing as they left the temple. Cornered, she clumsily negotiated the price down, from 100 to just 1 gold coin. Amused, Itsuki casually donated. He treated the expense lightly, calling it pocket change for the goddess. The nun blessed him theatrically, mixing genuine ritual with what felt like a practice sales pitch. Walking away, Itsuki reflected on pushy sales tactics, while Shiro sensed something odd ahead. Shiro followed her nose toward a door, suspecting the dining hall lay just beyond it. Inside, nuns reveled in luxury, smoking, drinking, and laughing without a trace of holy restraint. One nun bellowed proudly, declaring alcohol tastes better when funded entirely by faithful believers' donations. Peeking in, Itsuki was stunned by their behavior. The room's debauchery completely shattered his expectations. Inside the lounge, a nun discovered a wardrobe tear, drawing laughter from the others nearby. Unbothered, the nun flaunted the damage, joking about replacing it using the faithful's money again. Itsuki grew suspicious. Watching Shiro eat, he decided the temple's behavior crossed a dangerous line. Sensing someone at the door, the nuns grew alert, suspecting an outsider might be watching. Itsuki got ambushed and knocked down, mistaken as a peeping threat before explaining his presence. The nuns confronted Itsuki aggressively, declaring the area restricted and accusing him of sneaking peeks. Nervous, Itsuki claimed he was lost. The nuns accepted it reluctantly, preparing for next steps. Surrounding him with fake smiles, they demanded obedience, suggesting peaceful departure if he complied completely. Itsuki fell backward, startled, as the nun loomed over him, demanding obedience without hesitation. Confused and sweating, Itsuki questioned the strange behavior around him, sensing things were not normal here. Now tied up, he was surrounded by nuns, while Shiro calmly ate sandwiches beside them. Panicking inside, Itsuki debated escape as Shiro, distracted by food, seemed unfazed by the situation. A nun approached with a book, forbidding escape, pressing him for answers about what he saw. The nun pressed harder for answers, but Itsuki hesitated, lost in confused inner thought. His memory returned. The sisters shamelessly drank alcohol and smoked cigars, laughing without restraint or shame. Itsuki stammered, trying to explain, but the nun swung the book, silencing him with intimidation. She stepped back calmly, claiming he misunderstood, her tone shifting strangely from aggressive to apologetic. Itsuki questioned their behavior aloud, shocked as others defended Captain Teresa with drunken loyalty and pride. Laughter surrounded Itsuki as he insisted it was all just a huge misunderstanding again. The nun explained calmly, wine symbolized divine blood, and Yggdrasil cigars were holy medicine for tension. She claimed everything they consumed came from sacred offerings earned by healing and purifying services. Itsuki hesitated at their logic, confused as they insisted denying cigars would lower divine energy. He learned blessings increase through sacrifice, but harming innocence or selfish acts would drain divine power. Itsuki asked about learning magic through prayer, and she confirmed it required sincere, steady faith. A sacred symbol revealed the truth. Divine energy grows with faith, enabling powerful holy magic. She proudly declared her title, explaining her status as a true saintess chosen by divinity. Itsuki backed away nervously as another nun approached him with a strange, unreadable intent. Pressed by the group, Itsuki panicked, unsure why everyone insisted Teresa was a true saintess. The nuns cheered Teresa as a saintess, while she modestly admitted her powers felt unbelievable. Itsuki questioned the title captain, unsure why a nun was being treated like military leadership. The other nun declared Teresa a hero who leads priestesses and protects citizens from undead threats. Doubting their claim, Itsuki wondered aloud how such a small girl could be their leader. Teresa twirled a massive weapon easily, crediting divine blessings for her strength and combat readiness. Teresa muttered about the goddess being unfair, while Itsuki hesitated to voice his real thought. He finally asked if she hated her strength, and she admitted her discomfort with honesty. Despite her worries, Itsuki smiled and said her strength was actually really admirable and cool. He explained she still helped people despite disliking her power, a true strength of character. Hearing his words, Teresa blushed deeply, surprised by the praise, unsure how to properly respond. The nuns overwhelmed Teresa with chants of saintess, embarrassing her with their overly enthusiastic praise. Flushed and furious, Teresa exploded with rage, swinging her weapon to silence the relentless teasing. While chaos erupted behind them, Itsuki asked Shiro for help, but she kept eating nonchalantly. The nuns lay defeated. Teresa stands, breathing heavily, clutching her greatsword after intense combat. Teresa glares furiously at Itsuki, who is tied up and visibly anxious about her next move. Teresa laughs off her earlier rage. They share drinks, and tension gradually softens between them both. Itsuki offers a potion to help the fallen. Teresa asks for permission before using it. They tour the herb garden. Teresa offers thanks, while dismissing the defeated assailants as self-inflicted trouble. While drinking, Itsuki hears about the herb garden and casually expresses interest in visiting someday. The nun learns Itsuki is a drifter. Curious, she asks if he received strong blessings. Itsuki proudly activates his skill, summoning glowing energy as he confidently shouts the name Pocket Money. He demonstrates the skill's effect. Coins fall into his hand. Teresa stares in shock and confusion. Awkward silence spreads. Itsuki panics, wondering if they suspect him of counterfeiting or coin forgery. Teresa clutches the coins in awe, overwhelmed by the powerful divine energy radiating from them. Other nuns crowd around, amazed. They sense divine power in every coin and begin whispering excitedly. Itsuki, surprised by their reaction, explains he produces them daily. Teresa offers an exchange, visibly flustered. The nuns swarm Itsuki, all demanding trades for coins. He panics under their overwhelming attention. After calming down, Itsuki and Teresa formally introduce themselves. Shiro joins, giving her name simply. Suddenly, Teresa asks his true purpose. Itsuki says he's sightseeing and waiting for an auction. Teresa explains the church sponsors the auction. Itsuki didn't realize the venue was also the church. Suspicious, Itsuki asks if it's illegal. Teresa clarifies it's for nobles, handled impartially by clergy. Itsuki reflects silently. He imagines corruption if nobles ran everything without neutrality behind closed doors. As he leaves, church members wave politely. Itsuki smiles, surprised by their warm, formal send-off. Itsuki returns to his group. Sorte and Wendy question him, sensing another unexpected situation happened. Fried calmly suggests returning home. Sorte clings to Itsuki playfully, causing him visible embarrassment again. The moon rises over the church dome. The day ends quietly with peace across the city. At the mansion, Hayato greets Itsuki. They discuss the trip, both reflecting with subtle amusement. The group gathers in high spirits. Hayato and Itsuki jokes about princesses while Fried calls everyone to dinner. Shiro and Ranged watch food being served. The aroma overwhelms them with childlike joy. Everyone enjoys a lively dinner together. Itsuki and the others share laughs over food and wine. After dinner, the group relaxes in a luxurious lounge. Itsuki chats warmly with Fried. Later, the women gather on a balcony. They share stories under the moonlit evening sky. Sorte soaks in the bath, completely dazed. A lion fountain pours water beside her dramatically. Renge, Sorte, and the others soak together, grateful for hot water after harsh travels. Wendy admired the bath's grandeur, impressed it was crafted by royal court artisans' hands. Aina grew quiet, sensing something emotional, but quickly brushed it off with a nervous smile. As night fell, Itsuki wished Hayato good rest, ending the day with calm farewells. Fried praised Itsuki's tales. The young guest's journey brought rare amusement to the veteran guard. While walking with Fried, Itsuki invited him to share old stories sometime over drinks casually. While Aina observed, Fried bid good night. Itsuki thanked him, then collapsed into bed with a satisfied sigh. Lying in bed, he felt warmth and comfort. True rest had finally returned to him. Behind the door, Aina hesitated. Her heart pounded. Something unresolved kept her silently rooted there. Itsuki snored peacefully in bed, unaware Aina had quietly entered, nervously watching him sleep so soundly. Curious and blushing, Aina slowly leaned over him, trying to confirm if he was truly unconscious. Itsuki stirred from his sleep, confused by a strange presence looming closely over his half-awake face. Fried and a maid entered the room, surprised by his late awakening and slightly messy appearance. While sipping tea, Itsuki blamed exhaustion from travel, unaware Aina had already fled the room, embarrassed. Fried relayed Aina's message, requesting permission to personally look after Itsuki during his stay. Moments later, Aina entered cheerfully, teasing Itsuki for oversleeping until noon while smiling confidently beside him. However, her mood softened as she admitted feeling lonely. Despite finally sharing a room with him, gathering courage, Aina shyly asked to spend time together today, hoping he wouldn't mind her selfishness. Smiling warmly, Itsuki scratched his head, silently accepting her request with quiet amusement and gentle understanding. Itsuki, still feeling tired, invited Aina to join him for a calm day at the mansion. Later, he rested on her lap, surprised by how comforting and warm her presence felt instantly. Aina smiled gently, enjoying the peaceful moment, finding his weight strangely soothing and pleasant on her. As he started to drift off, she told him it was okay to fall asleep again. He chose to stay awake, curious about her, and asked to hear more of her story. When Itsuki asked about her past, Aina hesitated, then agreed to share her old story. She remembered her younger days, struggling with sword training under the watchful eye of a strict mentor. After each defeat, her master would calmly correct her mistakes, especially her stance, footwork, and sword focus. Alongside friends Sorte and Ren, she endured harsh lessons, cooking and fighting daily under their shared teacher. Even now, Aina recalled trembling before her master's overwhelming strength, a woman she deeply admired and feared. Despite her strength, Aina's master had many quirks, touchy in baths and always drinking with no restraint. Aina admitted her master never held back, often causing tears through battle wounds or difficult monster training. Still, during sleepless nights, the master offered comfort, letting them rest on her lap, singing until sleep. Itsuki, lying peacefully on Aina's lap, realized why that simple act carried deep warmth and safety. As Aina softly sang beside him, he closed his eyes, smiling, finally understanding her cherished memory. While Aina softly sang, two maids approached the door, curious about the unexpected melody coming through. Hearing the voice, the maids exchanged surprised glances, unsure if they should continue or quietly retreat. Meanwhile, Itsuki shifted in his sleep, unconsciously nestling deeper into Aina's lap, causing sudden tension between them. Startled and flustered, Aina asked if he was awake, unsure how to respond to his position. Blushing hard, she urged him to stop, but his dazed state caused him to cling tighter. Outside the door, the maids listened nervously, hearts pounding as they overheard Aina calling Itsuki's name. Just as they whispered in panic, Sorte and the others appeared behind them, curious and confused. Embarrassed and overwhelmed, the maids quickly made their excuses and fled, leaving the others more suspicious than ever. Now even more puzzled, Sorte hesitantly reached for the door, unsure what kind of situation awaited inside. They entered to find Itsuki buried against Aina, who struggled to explain the awkward, compromising position. Wendy stood silently, her face puffed with frustration, clearly displeased by the odd scene before her. Itsuki wakes up yawning, realizing he overslept. Wendy puffing her cheeks in silent protest while Aina felt embarrassed. He's confronted by Renjin and Sorte. They question his strange sleeping habits, concern growing on their faces. Dressed for auction day, Itsuki hears Wendy will accompany him alone. She quietly questions if that's disappointing. Wendy nervously fixes his collar, asking for his attention. Itsuki stammers, surprised by her sudden closeness. Emotions overflow. Wendy confesses her loneliness and hugs him tightly. Itsuki gently apologizes, finally understanding her feelings. Shiro suddenly hugs Itsuki from behind, complaining about his pace. Wendy freezes, startled by the surprise contact. Shiro drags him forward with force. Wendy clenches her fists, annoyed, while Itsuki panics under pressure. Meanwhile, Hayato prepares to leave alone. Itsuki asked why. Hayato replies everyone else is too busy. Letty, short of breath, arrives just in time. Determined not to be left behind, she declares boldly. Despite panting, Letty forces a confident face. The others ask with concern, but she insists she's fine. Hayato listens to the house-sitter's report. With a calm smile, he turns and announces their departure. Under the night sky, several carriages wait outside the grand building. The noble party prepares to move. At the entrance, Hayato notes the crowd. Only two may pass together, so progress will be slow. Someone greets Hayato warmly. The group gathers beside the carriages, ready to enter the auction together. A nun named Teresa welcomes them. She announces 2 miracle drugs will be shown, piquing everyone's curiosity. Inside the hall, Letty quietly observes Hayato's composed reaction. He acknowledges the briefing with controlled calmness. Teresa explains the venue is through the door. Guests must follow protocol for backroom-style bidding. Bidders receive numbered plates. Itsuki's group wears identity masking glasses to ensure anonymity and protect buyer information during auction. Guests take their seats inside the ornate theater. A loud voice welcomes everyone, announcing the auction's commencement. The host nun dramatically raises her hand. With energy and pride, she officially opens the mysterious auction. The guests quietly watch from the back. Some admire the sister's energy. Itsuki stays focused, analyzing everything. The first lot is introduced, a 20-year-old male criminal slave. The bidding begins at 500,000 nar. Wendy gently holds Itsuki's hand. He reflects on having bought her and others, guilt weighing on him. The auction heats up. A bidder wins the first slave for over 1 million nar. Tension rises. A mermaid slave appears next, beautiful yet silent. She requires a large tank, drawing gasps from the crowd. Itsuki trembles with excitement. The mermaid's appearance feels surreal. He loudly declares it's real to the group. Despite temptation, Itsuki hesitates. Wendy reminds him their group is big already. Shiro simply shouts, "Fish!" Bidding intensifies. Itsuki climbs to 6.5 million. Wendy remains calm but clearly unimpressed by his escalating enthusiasm. The mermaid is sold to Itsuki. He apologizes nervously. Wendy lightly scolds him with small, frustrated punches. A new item is introduced, a mysterious set of 3 necklaces. The host nun reveals the next auction. Hayato recognizes the necklaces. They were specially crafted by a high-level alchemist. Items of rare magical value. Itsuki admits he made them. The nun says they were requested specially before the auction started. The nun explains the accessories boost attack, defense, and voice volume. She demonstrates their effect on stage. Itsuki warns them too late. The nun shouts. Her voice booms uncontrollably across the shocked audience. Everyone recovers. Itsuki proudly introduces his invention, the mic pendant. It also amplifies trumpets when attached correctly. The auctioneer announces a starting bid of 10 million. Hands raise instantly, prices soaring above 30 million. Itsuki watches in disbelief as bidding escalates. Hayato notes mics don't exist here, making it revolutionary. The crowd roars as the accessories are sold for 50 million. Itsuki receives quiet praise from friends. Itsuki smiles proudly. His crafted items are valued highly. Wendy softly congratulates him, sensing his joy and relief. The next lot is revealed, a chained half-elf girl. Itsuki's expression freezes as emotions stir within him. The auction continued quietly, but Itsuki noticed the elf girl. Her presence caused the crowd's strange silence. Whispers spread quickly. People avoided her gaze. She was half-elf, unwanted by both humans and elves. Hayato, seated nearby, apologized coldly. He understood the disgust. Half-breeds, unlike humans, faced brutal social rejection. No one placed a bid. Her calm face hid pain. She expected nothing. Their eyes met. Itsuki hesitated. Wendy urged him. He wasn't moved by beauty, but by the injustice surrounding her. Itsuki hesitated again. He feared involving her would only bring danger to his current companions' lives. Renge and Sorte defended him loudly. They claimed he'd accept anyone, so long as they were cute. The host announced a miracle drug, today's star item. Itsuki and Hayato focused instantly on the stage. Both men stiffened. The miracle drug they'd awaited for weeks was finally being auctioned at last. Hayato whispered the market price. Itsuki revealed his full budget, double the price. He was determined. The first miracle drug was sold for 550 million. Itsuki and Hayato were completely shocked. With no challengers, the first vial was sold. The second would start again at 100 million. Itsuki encouraged Hayato. Despite pressure, he offered help and confidence. Their strategy for the next round began. Hayato accepted while Letty remained quiet. Bidding erupted quickly. 150, 200. Then Hayato boldly jumped to 600 million. Hayato stayed composed. Itsuki panicked. They hoped their bold bid would end it. Eyes fixed forward. The auction ended. Itsuki received the goods and payout calmly, hiding his thoughts behind polite smiles. Hayato stood in silence. Letty approached, but he kept walking, while Teresa met Itsuki. Itsuki spoke with regret. Hayato had failed. Both miracle drugs went to a wealthier, unknown bidder. Hayato whispered an apology to Chris. He couldn't fulfill his promise. Guilt twisted tightly in him. Letty watched him quietly under the moonlight. Her expression said nothing, but her eyes understood everything. Standing under the moon, Hayato silently promised Chris he would cure her, no matter the cost. Meanwhile, Itsuki rested in bed, thinking Hayato might be blaming himself too deeply for everything. Itsuki understood Hayato's pain. He admired the resolve but worried he carried too much alone. Determined, Itsuki got up. He couldn't wait. If he had a chance, he'd try now. He tested refining the drug, but as expected, it failed. His experience wasn't enough yet. Itsuki panicked. The Yggdrasil drug was gone. Without it, refining the miracle drug was impossible. He quickly decided. Tomorrow he would head to town and check every alchemy store he knew. The next morning, Itsuki walked through narrow town alleys, passing merchants and carts in search. Every shop gave the same answer. The drug was out of stock. Itsuki's frustration grew. Outside the cathedral, he met Teresa. Her sudden greeting made him pause mid-thought. The nun teased playfully, whispering ridiculous fantasies. Teresa blushed, confused by the unexpected lewd remarks. Unable to tolerate further embarrassment, Teresa hurled her captain in rage. Chaos exploded in the courtyard. Itsuki, ignoring the commotion, politely asked to borrow Yggdrasil flower. Everyone was confused by his timing. The captain explained the herb's high value. Even a small amount could change a novice's future. Sadly, she informed him there was no stock left. The last flower had already been used. Itsuki politely declined the offered substitute. He still believed he could find the real Yggdrasil flower himself. He waved goodbye with Shiro. The nuns stood silently, watching them leave with mixed expressions and thoughts. Suddenly, Teresa called out. She remembered a place where Yggdrasil grew, contradicting her earlier statement. Itsuki was surprised. The nuns hesitated, then admitted there really was such a location after all. Approval was granted, but as usual, the captain teased with a joke, promptly punished before finishing her sentence. Teresa invited him kindly. Their next stop, Herbal Garden. Itsuki smiled, ready to follow them there. Teresa led Itsuki to the sacred garden, where rare herbs for alchemical miracles were cultivated secretly. Chris's fading sight could only be healed with Yggdrasil, a mythical flower hidden deep inside danger. Though nervous and unsure, Itsuki accepted the burden of collecting Yggdrasil himself, despite having no combat skill. Suddenly ambushed by a golem guardian, Teresa struck fiercely to protect the mission before Itsuki could react. As zombies swarmed, Teresa shielded Itsuki again, shouting orders while he froze under pressure and overwhelming fear. As more zombies closed in, another nun joined Teresa, swinging her crossed sword fiercely without hesitation or fear. Itsuki hesitated, staring at chaos. He recalled their goal, just a medicinal herb garden, not warfare. Instead of herbs, they found severed heads and undead. Itsuki questioned everything, nearly vomiting from disgust. Teresa held firm, readying her blade. She signaled Itsuki and promised to carve them a path. With steel and fury, Teresa struck through the horde, demanding Itsuki dash forward at her command. Teresa unleashed a holy vortex, clearing a violent path through the undead. She shouted for Itsuki. The whirlwind struck hard. Zombies were torn apart by the force, flying across the battlefield in pieces. The ground was littered with corpses. Teresa stood firm, ensuring the path ahead was completely cleared for escape. With Teresa's signal, Itsuki dashed forward, but he grumbled. This wasn't how herb gathering was supposed to go. Teresa explained calmly, night priests were born for this. Their divine strength perfectly countered creatures like the undead. While running, Itsuki learned the church controlled rare herbs. Teresa insisted only clergy could access deeper sanctuaries. With more undead appearing, Teresa entrusted Itsuki to Shiro and charged forward, sword ready for confrontation again. Vice Captain acknowledged the call, taking position quickly. Teresa stood ready to intercept the next wave. Vice Captain moved with precision, blades drawn. She landed ahead of the horde, defending Itsuki's escape without hesitation. With twin swords spinning wildly, Vice Captain unleashed a devastating aerial assault, cutting into the zombies with frenzied might. Vice Captain's whirlwind tore through the undead, bodies shredding mid-air. Nothing remained but scattered limbs and torn flesh. As she slid past another beast, she stumbled into two giants. Unfazed, she muttered a calm oops. Teresa narrowed her eyes, calm and focused. Her grip tightened, ready to strike without hesitation or mercy. With a wide arc, Teresa smashed her greatsword into the brute's torso, lifting it cleanly off ground. After the carnage, Teresa sighed. The spawn rate had risen. Even Itsuki saw they weren't ordinary nuns. Shiro asked for her knife. Sensing danger, she turned back calmly while Itsuki stood behind, puzzled. As the ground glowed with strange magic, a summoning circle activated. Something massive was coming through it. A skeletal guardian emerged, cloaked in darkness. Shiro recognized it immediately, an ancient gatekeeper meant to block intruders. The Reaper loomed high above them, its scythe massive. Teresa and Itsuki stood frozen under the moonlight. Itsuki trembled. Shiro blinked slowly. Both agreed this wasn't a mob, it was definitely a boss-level monster. The skeletal boss drew its massive scythe, dark aura rising. The air grew colder with tension. Teresa barked orders. Shiro stepped forward calmly. Itsuki panicked. Clearly not everyone was ready for this fight. Without fear, Shiro declared she'd kill the Reaper. She walked straight toward it as everyone watched speechless. The sky split open as a skeletal giant appeared, forcing Itsuki and Shiro to retreat instantly. Despite Itsuki's protests, Shiro stepped forward, calmly drawing her blade, ready to confront the threat alone. Meanwhile, at Hayato's mansion, Sorte dressed up as maid as the other maids admired her. Landing before the undead, Shiro leapt upward, her weapon glowing faintly, prepared to strike with precision. Her attack failed, only divine energy could harm it. Shiro realized brute strength wouldn't end this battle. The undead swung its scythe with terrifying force, creating a massive shockwave that shattered the ground instantly. Teresa sensed divine energy tremble. Shiro warned Itsuki, anyone weak would freeze under the monster's fear-inducing roar. The undead's weapon gleamed under moonlight. It raised the scythe again, determined to eliminate all resistance. Shiro struck the ground, shielding Itsuki. The blade's shock split the earth, forcing him to dodge away. Darting past the monster's deadly swing, Shiro positioned herself carefully, analyzing its patterns for a decisive counterattack. The undead shrieked and raised its scythe again. Shiro narrowed her eyes, sensing its next violent surge. The ground erupted violently beneath them, sending shards and dust flying. The monster's attack shattered everything nearby. Itsuki called out in fear, while Teresa steadied her grip. Shiro vanished amidst the explosive shockwave. With moonlight shining above, Shiro soared high. Her blade gleamed, and she whispered her confident goodbye. Her strike landed clean on its skull, cracking bone and bursting light. The undead let out silence. Shiro gave a firm thumbs up. Despite the fierce clash, she returned completely unharmed and confident. Teresa praised Shiro's endurance. Itsuki still couldn't believe she survived that roar without breaking a sweat. Even divine users collapse if they're careless. Teresa's demonstration left Vice Captain groaning helplessly on the rocky ground. Teresa confirmed more undead would appear. Their next destination, an herb garden, was likely crawling with lingering death. Itsuki's hope faded fast as corpses clawed up. The team pressed forward, clearing enemies one by one. Itsuki recalled the divine coin he crafted. If imbued with holy energy, maybe it could work. Confident, he summoned his Onder vacuum ball technique, channeling energy into the golden coin like a weapon. The ball hit a zombie's head directly. Itsuki flinched at impact, then heard a sharp cracking sound. With explosive force, the coin detonated on contact, obliterating the zombie's skull and stunning the nearby undead. Vice Captain, furious, banned the move for good. Itsuki saluted nervously, having accidentally weaponized divine currency again. Morning arrived. Itsuki collapsed in exhaustion, but Teresa dismissed his whining. They had finally reached their destination. Standing on the cliff's edge, Itsuki looked out. The journey was harsh, but the view rewarding. Below them spread a vast field of herbs, a place of beauty, and their next objective. Grateful for Teresa's help, Itsuki thanked her. She smiled, reminding him kindly about religious donations. With endless herbs before him, Itsuki grinned. So many ingredients, he could now craft anything imaginable. Itsuki discovered moonlight grass, rare and dungeon-grown. Sadly, despite its rarity, it held no special value. He decided to keep one anyway, just in case. It glowed faintly, more beautiful than useful. To thank Teresa, he gifted her a flower crown. She blushed and accepted with surprise. Teresa's face flushed red as she buried herself in embarrassment. Teased by Vice Captain, she panicked. Itsuki returned to the mansion with sleeping Shiro. Freed welcomed them warmly, offering food and accommodations immediately. Tired from the journey, Itsuki declined food. Sorte's loud outburst in front of giggling maids startled everyone present. While Itsuki stood confused, Freed updated him about Hayato. Sorte yelled in frustration, embarrassed by her earlier behavior. Itsuki asked for a room so Shiro could rest. He decided to take a bath next. Meanwhile, Mi calmed down. She found comfort in dessert, savoring a rich cake served in peaceful silence. They praised the cake with delight. Chris confirmed it was hers, proudly noting Wendy had taught her. Chris stared into her teacup. Quietly, she confessed her doubts about staying in Hayato's party. She felt useless, her thoughts spiraled. Tears welled up, believing her absence would benefit the group most. Memories of Hayato stirred her emotions. Even with sadness, Chris couldn't ignore how deeply she respected him. Smiling softly, she offered Hayato cake. Her voice trembled, but her heart hoped he still needed her. Hayato noticed Chris's unease. Her hands trembled. With regret in his voice, he quietly apologized for everything. Chris blamed herself for every mistake. Her confidence wavered. She feared becoming a burden to Hayato. Despite her fears, everyone embraced her warmly. She wept, realizing they had truly accepted her existence. Hayato reassured her with sincerity. His words reminded her why she wanted to cook with love. With renewed heart, Chris smiled. Confident again, she offered cake made with hope, and Letty guaranteed its taste. Hayato smiled gently, quietly watching over the others. Their comfort and laughter meant everything to him now. Letty's demeanor softened. Emily noticed. She shrugged it off, sipping tea, secretly glad things felt lighter again. In the bath, Wendy appeared beside Itsuki. She questioned his fatigue and where he had slept. Itsuki fumbled for words, dodging the truth. Wendy pressed her foot close, watching him squirm nervously. Awkward silence followed. Itsuki apologized sincerely. Wendy said nothing, but her calm gaze hinted she understood. While bathing, Wendy noticed bruises along Itsuki's shoulder. Her calm turned serious as she scolded his recklessness. Although she respected his independence, Wendy admitted her frustration. She couldn't bear the stress of not knowing. Overwhelmed by emotion, Wendy embraced him in the water. Her affection had quietly turned into something deeper. Aina, unaware, entered hoping to assist. But what she witnessed left her frozen in embarrassment. Outside, maids whispered excitedly. News of the bath encounter spread fast, amusing some and irritating others. Late at night, under the moonlight, Itsuki prepared something carefully while Wendy silently watched. A magical artifact activated under Itsuki's hands. Wendy stared, recognizing something rare, once thought completely gone. Hayato questioned the artifact's origin. Even he knew such items were unavailable, even in high-end auctions. Itsuki offered the artifact to Hayato, calling it repayment. The girl confirmed it came from Orgol. Itsuki also handed over money. He insisted his peaceful life began with Hayato's kindness, and this was thanks. Hayato bowed deeply, overwhelmed. The gift was more than help. It offered hope he thought lost. Chris stood silently, then raised the vial. With determination in her heart, she drank the mysterious liquid. Everyone watched closely. Chris's eye widened, vision returning. For the first time she saw them clearly. Tears streamed as she smiled. Hayato's face, once a blur, now shone brightly in her sight. The room burst with emotion. Everyone embraced her tightly. After pain and doubt, Chris finally felt whole. Emily asked about the rare elixir's ingredients. Unexpectedly, Itsuki had moonlight grass, an ingredient believed unnecessary and lost. With her vision restored, Chris smiled warmly. Surrounded by friends, she expressed deep gratitude from her heart.